Fox Sports.
We are the Force. We are the West.
And Odor smashes this one. A soaring blast out deep right field and gone. And Odor has done it again.
Rougned Odor plays with an edge. Small in stature, his game stands larger than his size.
Where's that one over second? What a play by Odor. And Odor sends it high in the air. It is gone, a home run. And that was a massive blast.
A relentless competitor.
Bouncer second base, flagged beautifully by Odor to second for one. On to first, got him, double play.
His passion for baseball fuels the fire within. Who dares oppose him?
And there he is right there. Rougned Odor has been on quite a tear lately. Both sides of the ball, he has been getting it done as he gets ready to take on the Detroit Tigers with the rest of his Texas Rangers teammates here on a beautiful Sunday afternoon in Detroit, Michigan. And welcome into the Comerica Park booth. I'm CJ Nikowski along with Tom Grieve. And Tom, a lot of times we like to look at the season, maybe break it up into sections a little bit. And when things are going well, we'd like to talk about that. And things have been going very well lately for Rougned Odor.
They have, CJ, and it's not a coincidence. He's been working hard every day. It hasn't happened overnight, but it's been steady progress. Yesterday's game kind of highlights that progress. He had a terrific game offensively. He's been working on going the other way. He hit a shot in the gap for a double. He's seeing more pitches, not swinging at as many bad pitches. Got an off-speed pitch up and in, drove it out of the ballpark to right field. Last 37 games, he's hit 270, on base percentage 350. Not spectacular numbers, but they illustrate steady improvement. 4 home runs in his last 15 games after 1 in his first 45. But it's not just offense that's improved, it's defense as well. And when you see the 2 plays he made yesterday, spectacular plays, a one-hop shot that turned into a double play, and then later on in the ball game, going to his left, makes a diving play and gets the force out at second base. That kind of highlights the improvement he's made defensively. Again, working every day with Tony Beasley, hasn't happened overnight, but you see the steady progress.
It's been a good run lately, no doubt, for Rougned Odor. On the flip side, we're going to give a little bit of love to the Tiger second baseman. Nico Goodrum has been very impressive what we have seen so far.
He really has, CJ. You know, he's a guy that I don't think we knew much about when the season started. He was a minor league free agent. Generally, we're not talking about minor league free agents in a pregame show, but he deserves it. In yesterday's ball game, he came to bat 5 times. He was on base all 5 times, drove a long double in the gap in right field, also had 3 singles. In the month of July, he's hitting .464. He scored 7 runs in 6 games. He's a really good-looking athlete. He's batting 3rd for the Tigers. They really like him. They're trying to build for the future. Looks like they might have a keeper here.
Yeah, he's done a good job at second base as well. We certainly have been impressed with the work that he has done. Well, we're going to talk about the pitching matchup today. Austin Bibbins-Dirks will be going up against Michael Fulmer. This will certainly be a fun one to watch. We're going to dig in. Of course, Michael Fulmer, the former Rookie of the Year, he has been an All-Star as well. We're going to put him and Austin Bibbins-Dirks in the spotlight when we get back. Rangers Baseball is sponsored by Ford. Visit your local Texas Ford dealer today. Ford is the best in Texas. And by Southwest Airlines. Low fares, no hidden fees. That's transparency. welcome back into Comerica Park as we get ready for the Rangers and the Tigers. And a pretty good pitching matchup today, one that we think works in the favor of the Texas Rangers. And so we're going to put these guys in our Shiner Bach spotlight, Tom.
CJ, let's start with Michael Fulmer, today's starter for the Detroit Tigers. The Rangers got to him back on May 7th in Texas, 5 2/3. 5 earned runs. This is a guy who in 2016 was the American League Rookie of the Year. 2017 he made the All-Star team, so he's a very good pitcher. He hasn't pitched quite as well this year, and the Rangers did get to him in May. Austin Bibbins-Dirks for the Rangers today. His last road start in Kansas City was really good. 6 2/3 innings, 5 hits, only 1 run. Big day for him today in that the Ranger bullpen is tired. They pitched 7 1/3 innings in yesterday's game. Really important for Austin Bibbins-Dirks to pitch deeply into this one this afternoon.
It should be a fun matchup without a doubt. A guy who's been having a lot of fun. Well, that is Shin Soo Choo. He has reached base in 46 straight games. And when we get back, we're going to have a little bit more on that. John Radigan is going to take us into the streak. Low fares, no hidden fees. That's transparency.
Just another beautiful day for baseball in Detroit, Michigan. Slight breeze on coming off the river and a 79-degree temperature. Just fantastic day for baseball, and a day when a Ranger might just make Texas Rangers history. Shin Soo Choo had that proverbial spring in his step as he bounded around the clubhouse today. If he gets on base today, that'll make it 47 straight games, and that would be a Rangers record as far as reaching base in consecutive games. I asked him about ending the suspense early in the past couple of games where he did it on the second and first pitches of the game consecutively, and he said, you know, I'm just seeing the ball extremely well right now. When I see a fastball, I hit it. Sometimes you follow that pitch off or you miss it. Right now I'm barreling that ball up. He says he does feel a little extra sense of urgency to get on base when he's in that leadoff spot. He says that's the job of a leadoff man, and he hasn't had a walk in this series either. In fact, he hasn't had a walk in the last 4 games. He says that's because he's seeing the ball so well. It makes sense. Why take a walk when you can drive the ball 400 feet over or at least to the fence, guys?
Yeah, it's certainly a lot more fun watching Chu drill the ball over the fence or in the gap, and he certainly has been doing a lot of that as of late. Let's take a look at our Southwest.com Texas Rangers lineup today. There is Chu leading things off. Jurickson Profar will be playing shortstop this afternoon and batting second. Nomar Mazara, Adrian Beltre, Rougned Odor, Joey Gallo, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa behind the plate, and Ronald Guzman and Carlos Tochi are rounding things out at the bottom of the Ranger order. And here is Chu stepping in against Michael Fulmer, the right-hander for the Detroit Tigers, and he takes a first pitch 97-mile-an-hour fastball on the corner, ball one. Off the corner, I should say. Beautiful 80 degrees they just announced here at Comerica Park, downtown Detroit, Michigan. A swing and a miss. John Radigan was talking about Detroit, Michigan like he really, really loves it here. Almost as if he was from here.
Yeah, and he actually is from here. So no wonder he likes it.
There's the 1-1 from Fulmer, and Chu hits a ground ball to the right side. Goodrum is there, and Chu will be retired in his first at bat.
Let's take a look at the arsenal for Michael Fulmer. We've already seen his 97-mile-an-hour fastball. Throws that 35% of the time. The two-seam sinking fastball. Throws a slider, a four-seam fastball, and 14% of the time he'll throw a changeup. He's been a solid pitcher. In 2016, he was the American League Rookie of the Year. Last year, he made the All-Star team. So even though his numbers aren't quite as good as they were before, he still has a good arm.
Certainly now the ace of this club with Justin Verlander gone. Michael Fulmer slides into that spot as Jurickson Profar steps in against the righty. And there's been some trade speculation about Michael Fulmer. Still has 3 more years of control after this one, which kind of makes you wonder, would it make sense to trade a guy like him? Do you plan on contending or at least being competitive within that window? And then the flip side is, well, he also could do really well. The Tigers could do really well as far as what they could get in return.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it boils down to. When you look at the season the Tigers are where they are right now, it's hard to look at their players and say any of them are untouchable, so they'll probably listen. But I would agree with you that if they want to trade, if they get a trade for Michael Fulmer, it'll have to be the kind of trade that brings in quality players who they project to be with the big league team when the Tigers return to being a contending team. Otherwise, it makes no sense to trade a kid like this.
And Jurickson Profar hits a high fly ball to deep right field, and that ball is a long gone. Jurickson Profar taking Michael Fulmer deep for his 9th home run of the season.
You can see the kind of power that Jurickson is developing. He's had 8 home runs. That's his 9th about halfway through the season. This looked like an off-speed pitch the way he swung at it. It looked like a changeup. He was out in front of it, but he held his hands back well enough and hit it on the barrel of the bat so that it went 7 or 8 rows back in right field. No doubt about that home run. And I think, CJ, when you look at Jurickson's numbers, he's first in the team in doubles, first in triples. He's right behind Chu in extra base hits. He's got 9 home runs and 46 RBIs before the All-Star break. You'd have to look at those offensive numbers and say this has been an excellent first half of the season as Jurickson is developing into an everyday player. He's got to feel pretty good about his season so far.
He's been slugging the ball really well and taking advantage of that opportunity he had with the consistent at-bats with all the injuries that the Rangers had to Elvis Andrews, Rougned Odor, Adrian Beltre. Now it's bouncing around a little bit more, so that new kind of role that he has to deal with a little bit to try to still find that consistency, but it has been there. And interesting on Michael Fulmer, that is the 12th home run that he has allowed this year, but the 9th to a lefty. He's only allowed 3 home runs to righties this season, but you look at batting average, and from that standpoint, he's been much better against lefties. Lefties hitting just .233 against it, but they now have 9 home runs. Well, Nomar Mazara has worked the count to 3-0, and it's a 4-pitch walk to Mazara after the Jurickson Profar home run.
StatCast by AWS will provide us with the following information. Let's take a look at Jurickson's home run exit velocity, 99 miles an hour. He got it up in the air and hit it 394 feet. Looked like a changeup. Fulmer's fastball has been 96, 97-ish so far today. Changeup was 89 or 90 miles an hour, if that was in fact his changeup. That Jorgensen had a good swing at it.
Yeah, it could have been the velocity on his changeup this year has averaged 88 miles an hour. So it's a firm changeup for a guy whose fastball, as we've seen already, will be 96 or 97.
So is that enough of a differential? Or would you like to see it slower?
You'd always love to see it slow. I don't think there's any such thing as a changeup that's too slow, as long as you don't slow down your arm in the process.
Right.
I think ideally you would like to see it a little bit slower, unless it's got really good depth on it, right? If it's that split change, and that one looked like it had some downward action on it.
Yeah, and Jurickson was slightly fooled by it. You could tell he was out in front of it, but not fooled to the point where he hit it off the end of the bat.
Adrian Beltre fouls the 0-2 pitch back, 96 miles an hour. There's the good fastball from Michael Fulmer, and that has been a very good pitch for him. Just a 171 batting average against his four-seam fastball this year, and he's only allowed one home run. And as Tom mentioned, he's thrown that pitch 25% of the time, so he's had some really good success on the four-seam fastball. And the 0-2 to Adrian is outside. Count 1-2. Well, we're just talking about Michael Fulmer, potential trade candidate. I did see one of the Detroit Tigers beat writers tweet out that there was an executive. He didn't name any names. He just said there was an executive here today from the Arizona Diamondbacks. If you get an executive to come in and his team's not playing, as this one is fouled off Adrian Beltre, rolls to third. An executive tells you they're looking. They're interested, right? It's not just a scout, but somebody from the front office. So the Arizona Diamondbacks are certainly in that position.
They might not just be here looking. They might be here talking if it's an executive here.
And of course, the Rangers have their fair share of players that teams would be interested in. And the 1-2 is fouled off, and Adrian Beltre continues to put together a good at-bat here against Michael Fulmer. He's fouled off a couple of really tough pitches. Pitch misses down. Count now 2-2. Nomar Mazara reached on the 4-pitch walk after Jurickson Profar, second batter of the game, hit his 9th home run of the season. There's Nomar. And 2-2. There's a fastball on the corner, called strike 3. Beautiful pitch from Michael Fulmer. Adrian Beltre didn't like it. I thought that one, Tom, probably caught the corner at 97 miles an hour.
Yeah, when he catches the corner on his two-seam fastball at 96 or 97 miles an hour, it's going to be a tough pitch for a hitter. Looked like it might have come back just enough, and just enough to catch the corner. Excellent pitcher's pitch. Tough pitch for a hitter to contend with.
It was an 8-pitch at bat for Adrian Beltre that ended in a strikeout. And so now with 2 outs, Rougned Odor will step in against Michael Fulmer. We highlighted Rugi in our open and the great work that he has been doing as of late. There are the overall numbers: 234, 5 home runs for him, but 4 home runs you saw there over his last 15.
Yeah, we talked about Rugi in the open. It hasn't happened overnight. A couple of years ago, Rugi got off to a terrible start. It was actually sent to the minor leagues. He pounded the ball in the minor leagues, and when he came back, immediately he took off. Hasn't quite been the same way this year after a slow start. Wasn't sent to the minor leagues, but the improvement hasn't been night and day. It's been gradual. It's been hard work every day. Extra batting practice, all the fielding practice, and then gradually you've seen the improvement, and it kind of culminates in a game like he had yesterday. Great defense and double and a home run.
Well, he flies out to Jones in center field. The inning is over, but the Rangers score first on the Jurickson Profar home run against Michael Fulmer to deep right field. Home run number 9 for the Rangers shortstop. afternoon in Detroit as they lead at 1-0. We'll take a look at the Tigers lineup this afternoon. It'll be Jones at the top. Castellanos not in the lineup. He's actually scratched. So it'll be Goodrum, Hicks. Candelario is batting second. It'll be Adduci who's batting in that spot. Mikey Matuk, James McCann, Jose Iglesias, and Victor Reyes. Here's Jacoby Jones. You see the numbers there, 220 for him on the season, but a guy that they're pretty excited about defensively. We saw him make a tremendous catch in robbing Adrian Beltre of a home run in yesterday's game, and they've seen a lot of that, a lot of good defensive play from him. Now the offense is the part that you're waiting for to click, but I was talking to Craig Monroe before the game today, pre and post game analyst for the Detroit Tigers, and longtime big leaguer, and he said, you know, this guy to me is Gold Glove caliber. Now the offense has to follow in order for him to get that steady playing time at the big league level, but he absolutely loves his defense and thinks that he can hang there with some of the best in the game.
Yeah, and you know, there's a number of players like that around the league. Jake Marisnick is that kind of a player with the Houston Astros.
You see he got sent down yesterday?
He got sent down, yeah. They called up their Kyle Tucker, their best young prospect, to play the outfield. So, you know, for those guys, it's great to have those physical tools, obviously, the defensive tools to run, throw, and patrol center field. But the hardest part of the equation is what they're trying to accomplish, and that's become good enough hitters to be everyday players.
Certainly could put Billy Hamilton in that category. Tremendous.
Who's the center fielder for the White Sox?
Adam Engel.
I was thinking Adam Eaton, Adam Engel. Yeah, and he's, you know, the same kind of player. He can play excellent center fielder. He can fly. Just has to prove that he can put some numbers on the board offensively.
Well, this one is hit softly to right field, but it's going to fall in for a base hit. So Jones is on as Mazzara fields that one and flips it in.
And for Austin Bibbins-Dirks, veteran pitcher, uses a lot of pitches. Four-seam fastball, slider, changeup, curveball, two-seam fastball. Pretty much all the traditional pitches, both fastballs, one that sinks, and he uses them all frequently. And that's the kind of pitcher that Austin has to be at the big league level. He's not going to be overpowering with his fastball, but he's pitched for a long time. He knows how to pitch, and generally he comes up with a way to get big league hitters out and give you a solid ball game.
Jeimer Candelario will step in now. Originally, Candelario was supposed to be batting fifth in this lineup, but he took over for Castellanos, who was the original two-hole hitter. It was a late scratch right before the game started, and Jim Adduci, who was not supposed to be in this lineup, and took over in the fifth spot as the DH. So it's the switch hitting Candelario that is batting now. Castellanos, I don't think anybody on the Rangers side too upset about the fact that he'll be taking the afternoon off.
No, they don't have a bunch of players who are well-known offensive players in their lineup today. So when you can take one like that out, Victor Martinez, another veteran hitter, has the day off today. Of course, Miguel Cabrera is on the disabled list. So if you're going to catch the Tigers offensively, this afternoon is probably a good day to catch him.
Castellanos hitting .301 on the season, .352 on base. He's got 15 home runs. So obviously we're not hoping that he's hurt and missing any significant time, but the idea of taking this last game off against the Rangers is one that will be welcome. And so for Austin Bibbins-Dirks, he deals with Candelario just a little bit higher up in the order this afternoon. A called strike, count even 1-1. As I mentioned, Jones is a good athlete, covers a lot of ground, and also a pretty good base stealer. He's got 7 stolen bases on the year. He has been caught 4 times. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa behind the plate has thrown out 2 of 3 potential base stealers so far this year.
Austin's floated in a couple of off-speed pitches at 82 miles an hour.
Been a little issue for the Tigers lately. No stolen bases for them against righties over their last 13 games. Rangers and Tigers, when it's all said and done, will play 7 games this year. They have split the season series 3-3. So the winner of today's game will win that series. There goes Jones. Here's the throw from kind of for left. It looks like it's in plenty of time, and it is. And Jones is thrown out, and Isaiah kind of Falefa has just thrown out his 3rd potential base stealer. That is 3 of 4 that have tried to steal that he has thrown out.
You know, his first 3 throws were all short hops that the infielder made a nice play on. That one, he elevated a little bit, and that was not an easy play to make. That ball was sinking away from him, down and away. He had to reach for it down near the ground, transfer it back to his hand, and then make a quick, accurate throw. So that was his most. He's made nice throws. The one to end the game in Kansas City comes to mind, but none better than that one. There's not many catchers, I don't think, that are going to catch that same pitch and get it to second base any quicker or more accurately than that. That was very impressive.
And there's a swing and a miss and a long toss of the bat from Candelario. He goes down on strikes. Guzman will pick up the bat for him and return it. Nice job by Austin Bibbins-Turks on the off-speed pitch.
Yeah, CJ, take another look at this. Watch where this pitch is. He has to reach down for it, come back, and this time he elevated it enough so that it landed right on the base in the air. That was a nice play.
I think that just goes to show you the great hands that Kiner Falefa has. We've seen him in the infield. We've seen him do a great job. He's played an excellent third base and second base, and you can put him anywhere in that infield. But this is getting interesting now. This is his 6th start, so you don't want to jump ahead of yourself too much. But at the same time, he's thrown out 3. You see it there. He's also got a pickoff. It's 3 of 4 that he is caught stealing. Only 1 stolen base against him, and as we keep mentioning so far in these starts, he's kind of gone unnoticed behind home plate because he's done a really good job quietly, as this one is lifted high to center field. Carlos Tocci has it, and so the side is retired. When we get back, John Radigan will dig in a little bit more on Isaiah Kiner Falefa. Rangers lead it 1-0 after 1.
Was not the first one at the ballpark today, although on Thursday he feels like he may have been the first one to the ballpark. It was a great start defensively for Isaiah today, and a great start defensively for Isaiah Kiner Falefa on Thursday. He had another throw him out, a strike him out, throw him out double play on Thursday. Had a couple of hits in that game. He says the first time he catches a team like he did on Thursday, these Tigers, there's tons of preparation that goes into it, so he has to get here extremely early because he did that leg work Thursday. He didn't have to come in as as early today. He does feel, though, that the fact that he came up as a shortstop has helped him as a catcher. You need to know what everybody is doing out there when you're the shortstop. He says it's the same thing for a catcher, and he feels like his pedigree as a shortstop has helped him make this transition so smoothly to playing that position behind the plate, guys.
It's really been impressive to watch the hands that he has, and obviously he's putting the work in, as you just mentioned. John, I got a question for you, Johnny Rats. I don't know. I know you were a bit busy and trying to get ready in that first inning after we kicked things off, but did you pick up on at all my little attempt, my little ode to Ernie Harwell at my home run call for Georgia?
I sure.
And how was it?
It was beautiful.
Enough
it was beautiful. Now, where I sit, my back is to the wall, so I couldn't actually see the ball leave. And I thought, I wonder if it's really long gone, or was he just channeling his inner Ernie Harwell? It was great. You nailed it.
Any wall scraper is long gone today, as far as I'm concerned.
You got one more. You've got to drop the foul ball that goes somewhere in like Ypsilanti or something.
Yeah, Dexter, Michigan. Yeah.
The great Ernie Harwell.
That was a very appropriate thing to do, CJ.
One of my favorites. Such a gentleman, such a great announcer over the years here in Detroit. Just an absolute privilege to get to know him. For me, and one of my favorites of all time is Joey Gallo draws a walk here to kick things off in the second inning.
Let's take a look at what John was talking about, what we've been talking about as far as the defense goes with Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. This was Thursday. To strike him out, throw him out, short hop, great play by Elvis. Take a look at the way he catches this ball today. Generally, you would catch this ball with the palm of your glove up. He catches it with the palm of his glove down and throws him out. Now, I don't know that there's many catchers that could catch that ball if they caught it the same way. But, CJ, that goes back to what you were saying about his ability as a shortstop to have the kind of hands that could catch the ball that way. I know that catch would have been impossible 30, 40, 50 years ago before the catchers started to use this kind of a catcher's glove when you had to use two hands. But that ball was only about a foot off the ground, and how he caught that and kept it in his glove, that was very impressive.
Now a ground ball base hit up the middle for Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. So a good start to this game for him. And you're right, Tom. It really is impressive to watch because we're just talking about Johnny Rats was just taking us through all that preparation for Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, and that part has been fantastic. But you can't predict the two-seam fastball you're going to get off the plate or a changeup. You don't know what pitch and how the pitch is going to come in when a guy actually steals.
Yeah, exactly. He just knows somehow he's got to catch that ball and make it get to second base before the runner. And I don't think he's thinking how he was going to catch that ball. He just reacted and did it as quickly as he could, and the result was great.
So the Rangers now a couple of runners on here to start things off in the second. It was the Joey Gallo walk, and you just saw the Isaiah Kiner-Falefa base hit, and so that'll bring up Ronald Guzman with a couple of runners on and nobody out against Michael Fulmer. There's 97 miles an hour on the corner. 0-1. Guzman's been pretty good in these spots so far this year, hitting .263 with runners in scoring position.
So far in this game, Fulmer's had a little bit of problem with his control. He's thrown 30 pitches, only 17 of them have been strikes. So he's got a relatively high pitch count, and he's already walked a couple of batters.
And this one is flared to left field. It's going to get down for a base hit. Joey Gallo around third. He'll score easily standing, and an RBI single for Ronald Guzman drives in the second run of the afternoon for the Rangers.
Yeah, a little blooper to left field. No hesitation by Joey Gallo. He had a perfect angle on this ball and knew right off the bat that the left fielder was not going to be able to catch it. If you're on first, you might have felt a little bit differently, but from his angle, he's off and running the minute that ball's hit, so he scores easily. And Ronald Guzman stays hot.
That's a great job.
380 the last couple weeks.
And that was an 0-2 count. That's a really good right-handed pitcher. The ball was off the plate. It's a really nice job by Guzman, and it's good to see, right? We keep having this conversation about where the game has gone, and especially a lot of young hitters taking these big swings regardless of count, not thinking about putting the ball in play, and that's a good job by Guzman as Carlos Tocci lays down a bunt. It's a good one. Michael Fulmer fields it, throws to first, and the ball is dropped, and it appears to have hit Carlos Tocci. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa will score. Ronald Guzman over to third. And now it appears that potentially Carlos Tocci may be called out, Tom, for being out of that runner's lane.
Yeah, let's check it out. Looks like the umpire is signaling that. The first base umpire is Gabe Morales. Let's take a look. It's a nice bunt, a really nice play by Fulmer, and you can see where Carlos is. Carlos is in running on the grass, and if that was the call, that would evidently be the reason why. Jeff Bannister's not buying it. You know, the chalk line is right on the grass. Carlos look like he's right on the chalk line to me right there. I don't know. That's a tough call.
That's a really tough one. You're right there, because it looked like his foot was on or even inside as he got to the bag, which a lot of base runners will do, right? They'll go up the grass, but as they get close to the bag, they'll try to come back in. And so if that ball hits them, as long as 1 foot is in, it's not a violation. Now the problem here is that this is not a reviewable play, and of course the runners also have to go back.
It looked like halfway. I'm getting ready to agree with the umpire because he was totally on the grass, but as he got to the bag, I'm not so sure I wouldn't agree with Jeff Bannister, but it's not going to change.
So the runners will have to go back. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa to second, Ronald Guzman to first, and so an unfortunate break there for the Rangers. And that's the tactic. We'll get one more look at this, Tom. That seems to be the tactic, right? Go in the grass and then kind of try to get back in the lane at the last second.
I don't know where else you could be. You can't go down to first base to the right of the bag and then reach out with your left foot right as you get there. I don't know where else he could have been on that ball right at the end.
Well, Jeff Bannister has just been thrown out of this ball game as he was continuing his conversation from the dugout after he had walked back in. Chris Siegel has ejected Jeff Bannister, who continues to argue, and he probably gets even more frustrated as his coaches are telling him, yeah, the replay had him in the lane at the very end. It was an errant throw by Michael Fulmer. That's the other part of this, is that throw was up the line a little bit. If the throw was inside the bag and where he probably meant to throw it, this wouldn't be happening right now. But that throw was up the line. Carlos Tocci appeared to get back into the lane as the ball got there. He was out of the lane the entire way. That doesn't matter.
No.
It's when the contact with the ball and Carlos Tocci happened, where was he at that moment? And I think it's probably fair to say he was in the lane.
Yeah, if somehow Hicks could have held on to the ball, he probably would have been out at first base. And if the throw was to the second base side of first base, I think he would have been out on that play. But it would have been a sacrifice bunt, and the men would be at second and third instead of first and second. It was a great play by Fulmer. He had to go right down to the line to field that ball and throw it. His throw tailed into the runner. But you're right. I mean, if that, let's say he beat that ball out and the throw was toward second base, Hicks stretches toward second base, catches that ball, and he's safe. I don't think they make the same call, do they?
Nope, I think you're right. And so that's probably part of Jeff Bannister's argument here, one that he will lose as he will spend the rest of the afternoon in the clubhouse. It was a good bunt, by the way, by Carlos Tocci.
Really good
Put that on top of it as well.
I'm surprised Fulmer made that play.
Come on. His right foot is well in the lane at contact. It's not where he starts. It's where he is right here. And he got back in time. That's a bad call.
I don't know where he could have been.
And again, not reviewable. That is on the list of non-reviewable play types. The 45-foot lane violation is not one that you can ask to be reviewed, which, as we see reviews right there, makes me wonder, why not?
Yeah, and you know, to go back to where you are in the batter's box and your first 5 or 6 steps toward first base, as you leave the batter's box as a right-handed hitter, not a left-handed hitter, but a right-handed hitter, you're already significantly to the left of the foul line, unless you're way back in the batter's box. So as you come out of the batter's box, you're probably going to be to the left of the foul line, probably on the grass. And then, as you said, CJ, the runner senses where he is and then fades back to the bag, and that really looked what Tocci did, like what he did on that play. But it's not going to change, and instead of a sacrifice bunt, or maybe even better, a base hit, however it would have been ruled, it's back to first and second and 1 out.
So tough break for Carlos Tocci and for Jeff Bannister as well. And we look at the plays that are non-reviewable in Major League Baseball. A lot of judgment calls, which you understand. Interference, check swings, balks, all things like that. Infield fly rule where there's not a black and white answer. That certainly makes some sense. But a play like this, it's pretty black and white. You can see a replay. You might get a good enough look at it to say, no, he actually was in the lane at that moment. I wonder if Major League Baseball will ever reconsider putting that on the list of plays that are reviewable.
Yeah, I would agree with that analysis for sure.
Well, it's 2-2 now to Shin-Soo Choo, who steps in trying to extend that single season on base streak. And here's a ground ball, and that's going to get by the first baseman, Hicks. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa will score easily with the third run of the afternoon here for the Rangers. We'll see what the ruling will be for Choo.
No, Hicks is primarily a catcher, and he goes to the right to catch this ball, and the ball kind of eats him up. It's not a hard hit ball. Got some top spin on it. It looks like Hicks probably anticipated this ball was going to take a little bit of a higher hop, but it was hit slowly enough to where he looked like he probably had plenty of time to at least go over and smother the ball. Tried to backhand it. I don't think he ever touched it.
So it is ruled an error, and so for Choo, the on-base streak still not intact, at least for this game. Got an opportunity. He's got 46 right now. Like to be standing alone at 47 when it's all said and done, but that's an error, no RBI, and I think probably a pretty good call. As much as we would like to see that rule to hit for the on-base streak for Choo, that was a good call by the official scorer.
Yep.
The footwork there did not look too great for
not good footwork
for Hicks. A couple of runners on here against Michael Fulmer. 2 runs in already this inning for the Rangers, and Jurickson Profar, who homered in his first at bat against Fulmer, batting now with a 1-1 count. 40 pitches for Michael Fulmer through this inning in a third. So the Rangers putting together some good at bats, some deep at bats. We saw Adrian Beltre, even though he struck out, saw 8 pitches against Fulmer, and other Rangers as well, doing a nice job of getting this pitch count up early against the Tigers righty. Was that close to Jurickson?
I don't know. I never get on a hitter for that, because if that ball's within a foot of my head, I'm ducking out of the way too. I mean, that one was really not that close. Looked like one of those soccer players taking a tumble when he's not really hit that hard. But again, when that ball's coming in at 97 miles an hour, you're much better safe than sorry. Ian Kinsler's my all-timer for those inside pitches, though. He doesn't give an inch if that ball's 6 inches away from his head. He doesn't want to let the pitcher get any satisfaction that he's thrown a pitch close enough to him to make him dive out of the way.
Two to Jurickson Profar, who steps out after Michael Fulmer and James McCann are having a little bit of a tough time getting on the same page for this pitch. Jurickson asked for time again. So an interesting inning here has developed as Joey Gallo led things off with a walk. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa had a base hit. Ronald Guzman an RBI base hit. Carlos Tocci attempted a bunt. He was called out for being out of the 45-foot lane. Jeff Bannister ejected, and now Choo has reached on an error.
We were talking yesterday about the World Cup soccer tournament, and I think both of us would readily admit that we're not soccer aficionados. At the same time, the flopping does appear to be an unappealing part of the World Cup. When you can go down, lie on the ground with your face in the turf, writhing in pain, sometimes not even moving, and then as soon as the play's over, get up and sprint back to get the ball, that's not a good look.
No, definitely not. There's a ground ball hit to the left side. Nice play by Candelario. The runners move up, and there's 2 outs.
In the meantime, let's take a look at the Tiger defense, which is brought to us by Jack in the Box. Jim Adduci is in left field. Jacoby Jones, coming off a beautiful home run saving play yesterday, is in center. Victor Reyes is in right. Jamer Candelario at third. John Hicks at first. Up the middle, Jose Iglesias. Nico Goodrum at second. Behind the plate, James McCann.
So with a couple of runners in scoring position, Nomar Mazara will step in. Mazara walked in his first at bat. He's hitting .250 with runners in scoring position so far this season. Has done a nice job and We've seen him use the entire field as well. Has been a strong part of Nomar's game, especially in these spots. And so it's interesting to see how teams have adjusted their shifts. There's a one point where the left side of the infield, especially near the shortstop position, had been opened for Nomar. That has since changed. We've seen that trend over these last few games. There is Jose Iglesias. That used to be an open area. A lot of teams would leave that for Nomar, but he has hit enough ground balls in that hole where they've decided that maybe that's not such a great idea.
Kind of a tough inning for Fulmer, although he kind of started the problem himself by walking Joey Gallo. A couple of singles, one of them a blooper. A little ground ball to first was an error. And 2 runs for the Rangers.
So we're talking about this time. I mean, pretty good here for Nomar Mazara when you take a look at his hits by direction.
Yeah, absolutely. That's about as straight away as you can get. When you look at the outfield, they're very straight away. Center fielder Jacoby Jones is slightly on the left field side of second base. In the infield, maybe shading a little bit, but definitely not a shift.
Well, there is a ground ball to the right side, and Goodrum fields it cleanly, throws a little bit wide, but Hicks is able to make the catch, and the inning is over. But not before the Rangers add 2 more. They lead it 3-0 as we go to the bottom of the second.
Before we get to the bottom of the second, let's get to the Ranger defense, brought to you by Chicken Express. Joey Gallo, Carlos Tocci, Nomar Mazara form the outfield. In the infield, Adrian Beltres at third, Ronald Guzman at first. Up the middle is Jurickson Profar and Rougned Odor. And behind the plate, Isaiah Kiner Falefa. Elvis Andrus getting the off day today at shortstop. Rugi playing short. Delino getting an off day in center field. And Robinson Chirinos the same behind the plate.
The defense certainly something expected to come into play today for both of these pitchers. Even Michael Fulmer, as good as he is, he's not a huge strikeout pitcher. 7.6 strikeouts per 9. That's slightly below league average. Austin Bibbins-Dirks this season 6.6 strikeouts per 9, and so he is a guy that relies on contact. The strikeouts we have seen from him this year have even been somewhat of a surprise. They've been as good as they have been. So defense today certainly will come into play. We've seen it already. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa throwing out a batter. We saw the play with Michael Fulmer. Certainly something to keep an eye on here this afternoon as Hicks steps in and he's down to the count 1-2 and fouls one off. Austin Bibbins-Dirks, 33 years old. We mentioned last year him taking such great advantage of an opportunity. Well, he seems to be doing it again as he misses with that pitch outside. His last start was a pretty pretty impressive one. He threw 114 pitches. He went 6 innings. And you say, well, what's so impressive about 6 innings and 5 runs? Well, he did it against the Astros. It was about 150 degrees out, it seemed. And he just continued to battle as he strikes out Hicks. To me, even though you look at 6 innings and 5 runs, not exactly what you wanted, but it was an impressive outing as far as what he did and how long he was able to stay in that game.
No doubt. I was watching that game and thinking the same thing. And here's Austin dropping down from 3/4 to maybe a little sidearm, hitting that outside corner or near the outside corner. More importantly, getting John Hicks to swing and miss at it. So 4 hitters into this ball game. Austin has struck out 2 of them.
There's a swing and a miss. And Austin has only pitched against the Tigers one other time here in his brief major league career, but that was in relief, 4 in the third, excuse me, 2/3, and he absolutely dominated this club. As you see, just the 1 hit and no runs, a couple of walks, a couple of strikeouts. So his brief history against the Tigers is a good one.
Yeah, when we were talking about Austin in our Shiner Box spotlight before the ball game, we mentioned that it's an important day for him to try to go deep into the ball game. Yesterday, the Rangers had the bullpen throw 7 in the 3rd innings. Cole Hamels only lasted 2/3 of an inning, so they've used their long men yesterday. As a matter of fact, sounds like a nice play by a fan right there. But Matt Moore and Alex Claudio both threw a lot of pitches yesterday. They're definitely not available today, maybe not available tomorrow. So it's important for Austin to get through 6 innings. It'd be great if he could get into the 7th inning. Rangers would be in pretty good shape if he does.
There's the 0-2 and just misses off the plate. 86 miles an hour from Austin Bibbins-Dirks. You mentioned the 4 and the 2-seam fastball that he uses. They average right around 89 to 90 miles an hour for ABD. And he's a crafty righty, I think is probably a good way to describe what he does.
Yep.
Deep repertoire, throws it all at you. And also changes arm angle a little bit as well. You'll see him kind of that David Cone mold back in the day, right? David Cone would have, it's the 4 pitches, but when you're throwing them from different arm angles, it makes it 8 or 12. Pedro Martinez kind of known for that as well. And a lot of times you're taught as a pitcher to try to make sure you find that same arm slot. Well, there's also an advantage of maybe not being in the same arm slot all the time, and Austin's certainly one of those guys.
Yeah, I think when you've served an apprenticeship as long as Austin has, 10 or 12 years, you've developed different ways to get hitters out, experimenting with different arm angles, and he'll even drop down sidearm to a left-hand hitter. Not a worry a thing about it. Usually a right-hander would do that to a right-hand hitter. He'll occasionally do it to a left-hand hitter as well. But he's definitely been in the perfect spot for a pitcher with his background. The Rangers the last couple of years have used a lot of starting pitchers, and being available and pitching well in the minor leagues has been a perfect spot for Austin to get significant big league time and not just fill out a big league bullpen, but to get starts and be an important part of the pitching staff.
And that one is swung on a miss, and so it's back-to-back strikeouts for Austin Bibbins-Dirks and 3 on the afternoon. Well, there was some news right before this game started for the Texas Rangers, and it was a trade with the San Francisco Giants. The Rangers have acquired outfielder Austin Jackson, right-handed pitcher Cody Guerin, and Jason Barr for a player to be named later, cash considerations, and also to make that work for the roster. The Rangers transferred Tony Barnett and Matt Bush to the 60-day DL. So what that does is it opens up room on the 40-man for Jackson and Guerin. This will be pretty interesting to see. Cody Guerin will be in Boston and add a right-handed experienced arm to the bullpen. He had a really nice year last season, did Guerin, a 1.99 ERA in 68 games for the San Francisco Giants. So that'll certainly be a good add. 32-year-old right-hander. This year, a little bit slower of a season for him. 35 games, 4.2 ERA.
And the third guy was Jason Barr.
Yeah, B-A-H-R. So he's an A-ball guy. I think this is the guy, maybe it sounds like, that the Rangers like.
Part of pretty good numbers in the minor leagues.
What do you got for us?
117 and 2/3 innings, 95 hits, significantly less hits than innings pitched, and 139 strikeouts in 117 innings, and only 34 walks. 11-6 with a 2.83 ERA. I believe this year he's pitching at age 23, so that looks like a pretty good prospect.
So it sounds like to me, we'll just guess a little bit here, and you know this stuff better than I do. But Austin Jackson's got a 2-year deal. It was a small 2-year deal, 2 years, $6 million that runs through next season. The Rangers take on his contract. They bought themselves a prospect and maybe freed up a little bit of money for the San Francisco Giants as they get towards the trading deadline.
And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get back for the third inning.
By sharing a photo or video with hashtag HatsOffForHeroes. For each post, T-Mobile will donate $1 to support veterans.
Welcome back. The Rangers leading the Tigers right now by a score of 3-0. Good start for the Texas Rangers. Michael Fulmer struggling a little bit against this lineup. The Rangers done a good job as Adrian Beltre steps in, takes a first pitch strike. Adrian was called out on strikes in his first at-bat. Was not pleased with the call. Put together an 8-pitch at-bat. Looked at a 97-mile-an-hour fastball on the corner to end that plate appearances, and he takes a takes a first pitch breaking ball for a strike. We count even now 1-1. And we're talking about the trade and everything else that was going on. We kind of missed that Austin Bibbins-Dirks just struck out the side.
He did.
I just he made me look like a liar because I was talking about how important the defense was.
He's not known for his strikeouts. He said, well, let me show you a little bit then.
4 strikeouts for ABD. He's faced the minimum. The first batter of the game, Jones, got a base hit but was caught stealing, and so it's been 6 batters faced for the Rangers starter, 4 strikeouts. Here's Fulmer's 1-2 to the future Hall of Famer. That one is foul tip but held on to behind the plate by James McCann, and so a strikeout for Adrian Beltre. Let's go ahead and throw it to our first Chevy game break in studio with Leslie McCaslin. Thank you, Leslie. And it is a beautiful afternoon here in Detroit, Michigan, as Rougned Odor steps in against Michael Fulmer. Rugi flew out to center field, but he lays down a bunt, and Fulmer tries to slide and barehanded, but he can't field it cleanly. And Rougned Odor is going to reach on an infield base hit and a bunt base hit for Odor. That has been a part of his game that has certainly improved and something he's used quite a bit.
Yeah, and there's no doubt what it can do for your batting average, too. We saw Fulmer make a really good play on Tochi on a bunt that was right near the foul line. This is a bunt that's much closer to him. He tried to attempt a slide, pop-up, throw to first, wasn't able to pull it off. And I guess with a left-hander a little closer to first base, on his way to first base on the bunt, he figured he didn't have quite as much time as he did with Tocci's bunt. Wasn't able to make the play.
I thought Tocci's bunt might have been, I thought, a little bit better, a little softer, but Michael Fulmer, I think, tried to make a better play, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, and you know, I've got to think Ruig is going to get to first base quicker than Tocci as a left-hand hitter. You know, you're moving toward first base as you're bunting. Tocci has to almost step back and start from a dead stop a few feet away from first base compared to Ruig. So he might have felt like he didn't have as much time, but he definitely had to go, what, 10 feet, 12 feet farther to get Tocci's. Yeah, Tocci's was definitely a tougher play.
To the bunt single by Rougned Odor. Joey Gallo steps in. Joey walked in his first at-bat and scored eventually on the base hit from Ronald Guzman, but Joey quickly down 0-2. And you see Joey not too happy with that call as he's rolling his eyes. And the 0-2 is lifted high to left field, but plenty of room out there for Mikey Matuk. He makes the catch, and Rougned Odor fakes the tag. He'll stay at first, so there's 2 outs.
Let's take a look at the 2 bunts we're talking about. First, Carlos Tocci with men on first and second, probably bunting for a base hit, but perfectly willing to take a sacrifice. Bunts it right down the third baseline. Now he bunts it and has to start from a dead stop in the right-hand batter's box, whereas Rugi has a little bit of a head start going to first base. Let's see who got there first.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Rugi got there significantly quicker, and I think that's probably why Fulmer went into the slide. He sensed that he didn't have as much time. There's quite a big difference, not just in the starting point, but the momentum going toward first base.
There's a broken bat line out for Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, and the inning is over. So just the infield hit, but no runs for the Rangers. We'll get to the bottom of the third when we get back here at Comerica Park.
Check out Mark Reynolds, who last night in the Nationals' 18-4 win over the Marlins knocked in 10 runs. If you knock in 10 runs a month for 6 months, you're going to knock in 60 runs. He knocked in 10 runs in 1 day. But go back a couple of days in the same series, shortstop Trey Turner knocked in 8 runs. So first teammates with 8 or more RBIs in a game in the same season since 2012. Who did it then? Nelson Cruz and Josh Hamilton.
Pretty incredible feat there.
These guys did it in the same week. That's amazing.
It really was amazing to watch. 18 runs scored in that game. Pretty impressive. Unless you're the Arizona Diamondbacks, they weren't impressed because
I don't think
they scored 20 runs yesterday. They spread it around a little bit more, though. Nobody had more than 3 RBIs in that game. That Arizona Diamondbacks offense is really woken up, and so some pitchers waking up today Not feeling so great about how yesterday went, but this guy right here, Austin Bibbins-Dirks, has been throwing the ball well so far through 2+ innings. 4 strikeouts for him. He gets the bottom of the order, 7-8-9, with James McCann leading it off, and McCann quickly down to the count, 0-2.
Boy, Austin has so far 7 batters into the game completely baffled the Tigers. They're just wailing away and coming up empty.
There's the 0-2 and on the corner, but line to right field, and Nomar Mazara is going to have to let this ball drop in front of him, so maybe a little bit too much of the plate on that 0-2 pitch from Austin Bibbins-Dirks. Well, time now for a word from our friends at Southwest Kia.
At Southwest Kia, we've made car buying easy. $250 down delivers, monthly payments $250 a month or less. SouthwestKia.com.
So after that leadoff single, Jose Iglesias will step in for the Detroit Tigers. Iglesias having a pretty good year overall for Detroit. 273 batting average, a couple home runs for him. Good defender. He has stolen 12 bases as well. You see the 32 RBIs and what he's done so far this series, 3 for 11 with an RBI and a double.
You were talking about Arizona. Arizona scored 20. Washington scored 18. Red Sox scored 15. That was a bad day for some pitching on certain teams.
That game got out of hand late. It was actually a pretty close game. I was watching that Red Sox Kansas City Royals game, and the Red Sox scored 11 runs from the 7th inning on.
Wow.
Including 7 in the top of the 9th. But they did have some issues. Christian Vasquez came out of that game. Looks like he is headed to the DL, so we may not see him in the upcoming series. Jose Iglesias had to deal with this little foul ball. Oof.
So Elvis do that the other day. He's got almost the same type of pad on the inside of his left leg that Elvis was wearing. Pretty much the exact same thing. And it covers most of it, but you can still hit your foot and you can hit above it too.
Just to wrap that up real quick too, Joe Kelly came out of that game feeling dizzy, which was interesting. He had a couple of outs and you saw him kind of touch his chest a little bit, and ultimately they decided to remove him from the game as the ground balls hit foul down the third baseline by Iglesias. So a little bit scary. So he was feeling lightheaded. See what happens and what they do with him as we get ready to head to Boston after this one. Long hold, but now the 1-2 from Bibbins-Dirks and a perfect ground ball double play. We will see 6-4-3, and yes, the Rangers are able to turn it, and a nice job as they turn their 87th double play of the season.
Yeah, erased that leadoff single, made a good pitch, got the ground ball. Nicely turned by Jurickson Profar and Rougned Odor. 38 pitches right now for Austin Bibbins-Dirks in the 3rd inning.
It's the 7th time this season that Jose Iglesias has grounded into a double play. With nobody out, excuse me, with nobody on and 2 outs, Victor Reyes, the rookie, steps in against Austin Bibbins-Dirks. The 1-0, fouled off a home plate umpire. Chris Segala said he was fine. Pretty animated after that foul tip, but he says he's okay. Oof. That's why they wear those chest protectors, but doesn't mean it's still.
Yeah, he wishes he had the chest protector they used to have in the old days outside the jersey chest protector.
Breaking ball is lifted into shallow left field. Joey Gallo is there, and he makes the catch. And so a nice, smooth 1-2-3 inning for Austin Bibbins-Dirks, who one time through the order has been on cruise control. He's dealing 3 shutout here so far for the Rangers. Looking cased meat with some hot dogs, some brats, and well, if you like hot dogs, we got good news for you, because on Wednesday, July 25th, the Rangers will be playing the A's. Well, that's our next Texas Chili Company $1 hot dog night. Make sure you get your tickets at texasrangers.com, or you can call 972-RANGERS. Ronald Guzman with the one-handed swing fouls one off and count 0-2. I had a couple of brats yesterday here. Did you have any of those brats?
I haven't tried the brats here. No. How do they compare to Milwaukee?
Well, you know, Milwaukee is kind of
League
the
of their
brat
own.
king. But they were pretty good. They were definitely enjoyable.
I think I mentioned this earlier in the season. We were talking about brats. When the Rangers first opened the new ballpark, Tom Schieffer, the president of the team, wanted to incorporate great things about other ballparks. And so he had brats in the press dining room. And he imported the sauce from Milwaukee, tried to cook them the same way, and they were great. But the scavengers amongst the media ate so many brats that he was afraid we were going to go broke. And
way to go, Evan.
Yeah, finally had to stop doing that. But they were popular for a while. I can remember going to Milwaukee. I don't know when it was. It might have been my first year broadcasting with Mark Holtz. And the only time I'd ever been, or it might have been as a general manager. I can't really remember. But anyway, I can remember going to the concession stand because everybody said you have to try the brats. And I remember getting them and sitting down in my seat, wherever it was. And the first bite I took, thinking to myself, this is unbelievable. I can't believe this is the first time I've ever had one of these.
They had them in the clubhouse too at Old County Stadium. You could get them in the.
Did they?
The clubhouse manager there would ask you what you wanted. He'd grill you up a brat. You could sit down right there in the clubhouse and enjoy them as well. And yeah, they were good here.
They were good.
No doubt, Milwaukee is king. So I got 2 brats the other day, and the process there for me was I'm gonna have one now. I'm gonna bring one in the booth and maybe have one like the 2nd or 3rd inning. Well, neither one of those brats made it out of the lunchroom that morning. They were that good. As Ronald Guzman goes down on strikes. 3rd strikeout of the afternoon for Michael Fulmer. Let's take you back to what happened in the 2nd inning. Kind of a strange play, one that ultimately got Jeff Bannister kicked out of the game.
Well, he lays down a great bunt. Fulmer makes a great play. His throw is into the runner. Tochi was called out for being inside the baseline. Jeff Bannister strongly disagreed, was ejected from the game. And as we watched the replay, it was obvious that Tochi was in the baseline halfway there, but as he got to first base, it really looked like he was in the baseline. His right foot was on the outside part of the baseline. And so from our point of view, it looked like Jeff had a great argument.
I certainly did. And as we mentioned, that play is not one that you can review. So you're relying completely on the call by the umpires. You know, I guess the one thing you could ask too is you'd love to see them get together, and did anybody see anything different? And
yeah.
Would there be that opportunity to change the call, which didn't happen at the time? Isaiah Kiner-Falefa had scored all the way from second base. He had to go back to second. Ronald Guzman had to go back to first. So it was almost the same result as if Tochi had struck out, even though he laid down a pretty good bunt. Runners do not advance in that situation when you're called out for a 45-foot lane violation.
Yeah, Carlos would have been better off if he just sat down in the batter's box and let Fulmer make the play. But I think he sensed, as good as that bunt was, he sensed that it wasn't a sacrifice, it was going to be a base hit.
Tochi swings and fouls one back. The Rule 5 pick so far this season, 2 for 29. He's played in 23 games. He does have 35 plate appearances. He's walked 4 times. Still looking for that first major league extra base hit. The 1-2, that fastball misses 97 miles an hour. And so the Rangers have done a good job getting to Michael Fulmer. He has, however, retired 4 of the last 5. He scored 1 off of him in the first on the Jurickson Profar home run, and then 2 more in the second. And there's a 2-2, and there's a fastball on the corner called strike 3. So make it now 5 out of the last 6 for Michael Fulmer, retired. Well, it's time for our TXU power player to watch, and that guy right there is our power player to watch in Chu, and what he has done. It's been a lot of fun to watch the streak, the on-base streak. How about this one? 17-game road hit streak for Chu, and this is what he's done over his last 17 on the road. Number 17, ironically enough, 368 with 5 home runs, 8 RBIs, and things are going really well for Chu all the way around. Still waiting to get on that first time today.
Chu's playing so well, it doesn't really matter how you slice it and dice it. You're going to come up with good numbers.
Well, he drills one to deep left center field, but not enough to get out of the ballpark. Nice play by Matuk, and the inning is over. A 1-2-3 inning, the first one of the afternoon for Michael Fulmer.
And check out Austin Bibbins-Dirks. Through 3 innings, he's only faced 9 hitters, given up a couple of hits in the ball game, but he's also done a great job of mixing up his pitches, mixing up his arm angles, and having excellent location with his pitches. At one time, he struck out 4 out of 5 hitters. So through 3 innings, he holds a 3-0 lead, hasn't walked a batter, and struck out 4. Great start.
You see the swing and the miss there as the lineup turns over. Jacoby Jones stepping in. That is now 7 of 10 first pitch strikes for Austin Bibbins-Dirks this afternoon. He has thrown 71% strikes. Usually like to see your pitcher somewhere around 63, 64%. So it's been a good afternoon through 3 innings so far for ABD. See, Jones had that single in the first inning. That was to lead things off, but he was thrown out attempting to steal by Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. The 1-1 misses off the plate. 2-1 now to Jones. There's a 2-1 and grounded foul. 89 miles an hour. Saw a little bit of that lower arm angle from Austin Bibbins-Dirks and the good movement on the two-seam fastball. Although I say that with him, sometimes because of that arm angle, you assume it's a two-seam fastball, but his four-seamer gets
to be.
It doesn't have. His four-seamer gets some pretty good arm side run. And that one below the zone, and a good job by Austin Bibbins-Dirks as he registers his 5th strikeout of the afternoon.
I think this is the best changeup I've ever seen him have. He's had a number of swings and misses, 2 in that at bat to Jacoby Jones. That 82-mile-an-hour changeup has been a superb pitch for him. That and his 89 to 90-mile-an-hour sinking fastball, been a great combination so far.
Well, it's 5 strikeouts through 3 1/3. Season high for ABD this season has been 6. He's done that twice. He also had that unusual game against the Kansas City Royals in which he threw 6 2/3, and he pitched well. He only allowed 1 run on 5 hits, but did not strike out a single batter.
Yeah, that's a hard one to figure out.
But outside of that, he's been averaging anywhere between 4 and 6 strikeouts per game, but he's got 5 already this afternoon. Rangers leading at 3-0. Jurickson Profar with a home run in the first. RBI singles from Ronald Guzman. I say not a single, it should be only just a 1 RBI single. Chu reached on an error that also scored a run. It's Jamir Candelario here against Austin Bibbins-Dirks. Originally slated to bat 5th in this game, but got slid up to the number 2 spot after Nicholas Castellanos was a late scratch for the Tigers. Pitch number 51 on the way from Austin Bibbins-Dirks, and he gets Candelario to foul it back. 89 miles an hour on the fastball. I think that gives you a pretty good idea about the movement. You're sitting there, a guy like Candelario, especially as a lefty, likely sitting on that 3-1 heater. Obviously, it's not overpowering fastball, but good movement by Austin to keep it off the barrel of the bat. This one 90 miles an hour. So as a hitter, Tom, always curious about this. We talk about movement and location. A good two-seamer, at least good action on 89 and 90 from ABD. Is it easier? Not that it's ever easy to hit, but would you rather have, say, 95 to 96 straight as opposed to 89 moving?
I'd rather have 95 straight any day of the week. If you can combine move, provided it's got decent velocity, if it's in the upper 80s and you've got excellent movement with really good command of it, I think you're a better pitcher than. Let's face it. Nowadays, with pitchers throwing as hard as they are, the minor leagues and the big leagues, for that matter, are filled with 95-mile-an-hour fastballs and guys who can't get anybody out. So I'll take the movement and the location any day.
I think he is a guy that's worth watching too for young pitchers, as much as we've become velocity obsessed. And I get it, it's nice to be able to throw hard, but pitching is most important. And Austin Bibbins-Dirks continues to do that this afternoon as he ties up Candelario with that pitch on the inside corner and caught by Jurickson Profar. Well, how about the idea of taking home a little bit of snow? You'll have that opportunity on Friday, July 20th, when the Rangers take on the Cleveland Indians. The first 15,000 fans get a celebration snow globe, courtesy of Powerade and Kroger. Get your tickets at TexasRangers.com or call 972-RANGERS.
Yeah, you're right. This is really, so far in this game, this has been a kind of a clinic in how to get people out and how to pitch by Austin, for sure. There's a sidearm pitch to a left-hand hitter we're talking about. He threw it 90 miles an hour right by him.
And what's so unusual about that, right? You think about dropping down, and you would do it on a same-sided hitter, right? Righty versus righty, lefty versus lefty, because a left-handed hitter, right, can see that ball, you would think, a little bit better when you start to lower your arm angle. But Austin has had a lot of success doing that.
Another one. Took a little off the changeup down in a way.
But assume it's kind of, we talked about uncomfortable at bats. We were talking about Bartolo Colon the other night. He throws so many strikes, and so maybe you don't feel uncomfortable in the sense because he doesn't have the high-powered stuff. But I'm watching these guys and thinking these must be frustrating at bats. Are these the ones you walk back to the dugout and kind of asking yourself what just happened?
Yeah, there's sometimes where you don't think a guy's throwing very well, and you go 0 for 4, and you say it was a comfortable 0 for 4. You had some good pitches to hit, and for some reason you didn't hit them. Today, I don't know that these guys can say the same thing, because let's face it, in 3 2/3, he struck out 5. So, they may be comfortable because he's not throwing 97 miles an hour, but the swings they're taking, and you combine the changeup, the off-speed pitch, and the location, I can't feel like they're looking very comfortable at the plate so far.
A lot of mixing and matching here so far for Austin Bibbins-Dirks as he throws that 90-mile-an-hour fastball, gets away from him a little bit. Count even 2-2 to Nico Goodrum, who we talked about in our open, a guy that we have been very impressed with and have seen so far. The second baseman for the Detroit Tigers has done a really nice job offensively. And he swings, and it's a ground ball to the right side. Nice hop for Rougned Odor over to Ronald Guzman, and it is a 1-2-3 inning for Austin Bibbins-Dirks, who has faced the minimum through 4. Well, when we get back, we're going to see Jurickson Profar leading things off for the Rangers. He homered in the first. Let's see if he's got another one in him when we get back.
Down. Let's look to Jurickson Profar. His first time up, got an off-speed pitch, it looked like, finished with a one-arm follow-through and launched it 7 rows back, 390 feet to right field for home run number 9. Great start to the game for the Rangers and for Jurickson Profar.
Gets another shot here at Michael Fulmer as he takes a good look at a 2-seam fastball for a called strike. Now check, that was a changeup at 88 miles per hour. Good movement on that pitch from Fulmer. Here's the fastball at 95 miles an hour, popped up to the left side. Candelario is there. He makes the catch, and so Jurickson Profar is retired to lead off the 5th inning. How about our WinStar World Casino and Resort leaderboard? You see Nomar Mazara getting ready to hit against Michael Fulmer. Well, look at this right here. This is the Rangers' longest home runs this season. No surprise to see Joey Gallo at the top, but 2 of those home runs came against the Detroit Tigers. One here at Comerica Park, and then one, of course, in Arlington. There is Nomar Mazara. That was back on May 9th, and he went 447, tying Shin-Soo Choo for the 4th longest home run the Rangers have hit this season. Nomar so far today 0 for 1. He did have that walk back in the 1st inning. It's been a little bit of a rough stretch. He's now 2 for his last 22. Is Nomar Mazara. He went 1 for 4 yesterday with a couple of strikeouts, and so far on this road trip 1 for 12. We were talking about this yesterday. Nomar seemed to be having a little bit of an issue with the high fastball, and it seemed like the Tigers were kind of going to that spot pretty regularly against him. But still, overall season has been a good one for Nomar at 270 with 15 home runs coming into this afternoon.
Yeah, you know, if he can approach in the second half what he did in the first half, not duplicate it, but just approach it, he's got a great chance to knock in 100 runs for the 2nd straight year. He only needs 5 home runs to tie his high of 20, so he's on pace to continue progressing in the right direction for a young middle of the order guy. The home runs that you were talking about, Nomar, there's a high fastball. I didn't have a problem with that one. 447 feet to right center field, and then just the other day, Thursday, here in Detroit, 450 plus all the way over the seats, almost into the 2nd deck.
It's funny watching that guy thinking about trying to catch that ball, and then he kind of thought, put a little alligator arm in there. I got it now. You know what? I don't think I want to do that. And he probably made the right choice.
When in doubt, cover up and get out of the way.
Well, Adrian Beltre steps in here against Michael Fulmer. Swings at the 0-1, hits a ground ball to the left side. Candelario to second, over to Goodrum, over to first to Hicks, and it goes 5-4-3. Nice double play by the Detroit Tigers to end the 5th inning. So it ends up being a 1-2-3 for Fulmer. We'll go to the bottom of the 5th with the Rangers leading 3-0 here in leading this thing 3-0. Well, the Rangers and Dr. Pepper are teaming up. They're going to you bring a Dr. Pepper can to the box office, or use the online coupon code Dr. Pepper to get tickets starting at just $11 for the Rangers versus the A's. That's July 23rd through the 26th. Visit TexasRangers.com/specials. Dr. Pepper actually sounds pretty good right about now. It's a good afternoon on ice. This line shot foul by Hicks against Austin Bibbins-Dirks. A couple of base runners have reached against Austin, but they have been eliminated. It was Jones who led off this game with a base hit. He was caught stealing, and then James McCann had a base hit, but was quickly erased after Jose Iglesias grounded into a 6-4-3 double play. So through 4 innings, Austin Bibbins-Dirks has faced the minimum against the Detroit Tigers. There's the 1-1 to Hicks. In the dirt, count 2-1. 5 strikeouts so far this evening, or this afternoon, to no walks for Austin. His career high in strikeouts is 6. He's done it twice, and both times it happened this year. Once against the Kansas City Royals, another time against the San Diego Padres. So he is just 1 strikeout away from tying his major league high. And here's a little soft ground ball hit in front of the plate. Austin fields it barehanded and throws over to Ronald Guzman for the easy out. Let's take a look at our Progressive schedule, upcoming schedule. After this one, we will head to Boston for a 3-game series against the Red Hot Red Sox, and then it's going to be a day off on Thursday before the Rangers take on the not-so-hot Baltimore Orioles for a weekend series, and that is heading into the All-Star break after that. 4 days for that All-Star break, and then we will finally be back home. That 7-game homestand, the Cleveland Indians for 3, the Oakland A's for 4. The A's have been playing some pretty good baseball this season, so that certainly will be a good homestand, good competitive homestand for the Rangers. The Indians leading this American League Central Division pretty easily so far, and really not much of a challenge in the rest of the American League Central. The Minnesota Twins are in 2nd place. They are 10 games under 500 and 10.5 back of the Indians. And it's turning into a no contest pretty quickly.
You look at the A's. Yeah, I think a lot of people have speculated that the races are over in the American League, but the A's now are 49-40. They've won 8 out of 10. They're only 6.5 games behind Seattle right now. So I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Seattle's going to be the wild card. The A's credit, they put together a very nice season.
Well, there's that AL West, and just you see it, 4 of the 5 teams above or at 500. You only have 1 team above 500 in the American League Central. That's the Indians. And then the American League East, you got 3 teams that are 500 or above. It's been kind of a weird year in the American League. And there's a high fly ball hit to right field, but Nomar Mazara's got plenty of room, and he'll make the catch for the 2nd out here in the 5th. Well, how about another Chevy game break? Let's throw it back to studio with Leslie McCaslin. Thank you, Leslie. And here we are back at Comerica Park. 2 quick outs for Austin Bibbins-Dirks, who continues to roll right now here against the Detroit Tigers. It has been 7 straight retired after that leadoff single in the 3rd inning.
And you're talking about a pitcher wanting to throw 64% strikes. Austin's right on target there. He's a little higher than that. But not only is he throwing strikes, boy, he's throwing them right where he wants to. It's one thing to throw strikes, but if you throw them right down the middle, you're going to get lit up. He's throwing strikes and keeping them away from anywhere near the hitting zone for the most part.
And the 0-2, that one is in the dirt. So it's been 68% strikes for Austin Bibbins-Dirks this afternoon. The swings and misses, 10 of those so far.
That's been
certainly
impressive.
An encouraging sign, because that's, again, something we don't necessarily look to with Austin's game. It's about the movement, keeping guys off speed. You saw a lot of weak pop-ups, a lot of weak contact. That's what we have seen from him when he has been on. But the swing and miss, the strikeouts, a little bit more a part of his game so far this afternoon against Detroit. The 0-2 to Matuk is dribbled to the 3rd base side.
That's what you're talking about.
Easy play by Adrian Beltre, and another easy inning for Austin Bibbins-Dirks, who I think has dinner plans in Boston tonight. We'll go to the 6th when we get back.
are concluding their trip to Detroit here. We've reached the 6th inning here at Comerica. Rougned Odor coming to the plate, already on base once with a hit in this game. He had a double and a homer yesterday. The offense is on the rise, but I asked Jeff Bannister before the game, are you more proud of what he is doing, getting the offense back in play, or what he's doing defensively? And Banny said that's a little bit like asking me who's my favorite kid, but he said ultimately it's the defense. He's worked so hard on it, and it's been one of those things that he's had to work on literally his entire career. He's very proud of the work, the footwork, the effort, the reps that Rugi has had to put in to improve that defense, guys.
Yeah, he has done an excellent job. You just saw that graphic right there. Oh, no errors, excuse me, in his last 36 games as he hits a ground ball in the hole, but a very nice play by Jose Iglesias, the long throw over to first base, and Rougned Odor is retired.
Oh, remarked several times in this 4-game series about Jose Iglesias and the stylish way he plays shortstop. Take a look at the replay here. Rugi can get down the line quickly. And he throws on the run, doesn't necessarily plant and throw. He's throwing on the run, still got something on the throw.
It's almost as if he didn't want us to talk about Rougned Odor's defense anymore and wanted to show off some of his own, which we certainly don't appreciate. As I was trying to spit out that Rugi has not made an error in his last 36 games. He's been playing some excellent defense. But Iglesias, as I mentioned, I think for me a little bit of an underrated shortstop around the league. There are so many good ones in the game right now. It's really been a renaissance at that position with guys like Francisco Lindor and, of course, Carlos Correa, who was hurt. We get to see Elvis Andrus pretty much every day, who does an excellent job. Xander Bogaerts. I mean, there's just some really, really good shortstops around the league right now.
Yeah, they all have their own style of play. And I really like the way Iglesias plays defense.
Joey Gallo now steps in here against Michael Fulmer, who was settled in very nicely after a rough start to this game. Jurickson Profar hit a home run against him in the first. The Rangers added 2 more in the second, but for the most part have been pretty quiet since. Just 1 walk since that second inning. And the breaking ball is called strike 3 against Joey Gallo, and so Joey goes down looking. Well, Saturday, July 21st at 7:05, the Rangers will be taking on the Indians, and the first 15,000 fans get an Elvis Andrus Best Friends bobblehead. That'll be courtesy of Dr. Pepper and Tom Thumb. It's the second in a series of 2 Best Friends bobbleheads, and you can get your tickets at TexasRangers.com or by calling 972-RANGERS. And there's Elvis's best bobblehead friend, and maybe best friend. I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think that's probably a pretty safe assumption. These guys are pretty tight and have been excellent teammates and a lot of fun for Rangers fans to watch over the years. And now you have a chance to get a bobblehead with both of them in it as Isaiah Kiner-Falefa breaks another bat, and Iglesias makes a very nice play on the run. And so a couple of defensive gems by the Tigers shortstop in a quick 1-2-3 inning for the Rangers. It'll be the bottom of the 6th inning when we get back here at Comerica Park. fares, no hidden fees. That's transparency. And by Ford. Visit your local Texas Ford dealer today. Ford is the best in Texas. Well, it's been a very good game so far for Austin Bibbins-Dirks and the Texas Rangers as they lead the Tigers by a score of 3-0. And there's the line for ABD, 5 innings, 2 hits, no runs allowed, no walks. You certainly love to see that, and 5 strikeouts. All that with just 71 pitches.
It's been pretty impressive. Been some nice pitching performances in this series. Go back to the game where Jordan Zimmerman faced off with Bartolo Colon. They both pitched great.
There's a line shot to center field. Carlos Tocci makes a diving play and an excellent one in center field. Tocci getting the rare start for Delano DeShields and making the most of it. It was a very nice play.
Well, we've heard all the accolades about Carlos Tocci and his ability to play center field. Really hasn't played enough to get a great look at him out there, but he showed his stuff on that one. Got a nice jump, full all-out dive, and took what looked like a sure base hit off the bat of James McCann, turned it into an out. So very nice play.
And 1 pitch, 1 out for Austin Bibbins-Dirks as Jose Iglesias steps in against the Ranger right-hander, and he looks at a first pitch fastball.
Mike Fiers had a nice outing the other day. And Austin Bibbins-Dirks so far is right up there with him. Maybe on pace to have a better one if he can continue throwing like this. Again, right at a time when the Rangers needed it after using the bullpen yesterday for 7 1/3. Matt Moore, Alex Claudio, both threw a lot of pitches. Matt threw just like pretty much as much pitches as he would have thrown as a starting pitcher. He was up in the 80s, I think. Alex Claudio was somewhere between 50 and 60. So a lot of pitches by those two guys. ABD out there trying to pitch as deeply into this game as he can.
Let's see, I can find that for you. You're right. Alex Claudio, 57 pitches. Matt Moore, 85 out of bullpen. So it was good that 2 guys, at least, where he necessarily didn't use a ton, but certainly they'll be down for a couple of days.
Right.
So this is the second time. We mentioned his last start against the Astros, and it was just a real hot day. And Austin threw 114 pitches and did a nice job getting through 6 innings against a very tough lineup. And here he is now at 75 pitches and pitching into the 6th inning once again.
And another swing and a miss.
He's got a 1-2 to Iglesias, and this one is poked into shallow center field, and Tocci thought about diving for that one, but fields it on the hop, and so it's a base hit for Jose Iglesias. Well, let's go ahead and take a look. We were just talking about how well Austin was throwing. Well, Southwest Airlines bullpen live look, and there is Jose Leclerc getting ready. So we mentioned the bullpen and how good they were. 7 1/3 scoreless innings. That is the most scoreless innings since April 20th of 2013 against the Mariners. And as good as that was, and it was great, it did leave us a little bit disappointed because we were teased. We saw Ryan Rua, non-pitcher outfielder, warming up in the bottom of the 8th inning, but Alex Claudio was able to finish off his inning, and so we didn't get to see him pitch. And this one is in the dirt, and Iglesias will trot down to second base easily. It'll be a wild pitch for Austin Bibbins-Dirks. And you may be asking yourself, well, why would they get somebody up right now? He seems like he's on cruise control, but remember that last start was a pretty big one and certainly took a lot of effort, and Austin did an excellent job, and you're sitting here with a 3-0 lead. You're about to potentially turn the order over for a 3rd time, and so the idea of making sure you have somebody ready in case Austin gets into any trouble, we want to get him out of there with a lead, and I believe that's probably why Don Wakamatsu is getting Jose Leclerc up.
Yep, you've got a couple of late inning guys who are well rested and ready to go, and you have a lead late in the ball game. So all those circumstances factor into it.
If you're saying, well, why Don Wakamatsu and not Jeff Bannister? That's because Banny got ejected from this game in the 2nd inning. It was a disputed call. Carlos Tocci laid down a bunt. Got caught in that 45-foot lane. The throw for Michael Fulmer hit him. Now, we thought that Tocci got his foot back in the lane, but the umpire saw it differently. It's not a reviewable play. Banny argued, went to the dugout, wasn't done arguing, and then was eventually ejected by home plate umpire Chris Segal.
First time the Tigers have had a runner in scoring position today.
a changeup, misses upstairs. Count 3-1 to Victor Reyes, who flew out to left field in his first at bat. See what he has done, averaging nearly 98 pitches per start, and pitch number 81 of the afternoon is on its way to Reyes, and it misses outside for ball 4. So a couple of base runners now against Austin Bibbins Dirks, and the lineup will indeed get turned over for a third time with Jacoby Jones coming in. But Don Wakamatsu was already out, and it appears that he's already made his decision, and Austin Bibbins Dirks' afternoon will come to an end. That was a good effort, without a doubt. Austin threw the ball extremely well, but we'll tell you all about Jose Leclerc when we get back.
Austin Bibbins Dirks today. It was an outstanding effort. Commented on the different arm angles he used, the assortment of pitches he threw. He had a terrific changeup. There's one of them right there. An effective fastball. And when it's all over and done, he ends up going 5 1/3. Gave up 3 hits, walked his first batter, Victor Reyes, and that was his last hitter, and struck out 5 in the ballgame. So at a time when the Rangers were looking for a nice outing from their starting pitcher, Austin Bibbins Dirks delivered.
He was fantastic in this one, but he turns it over now to Jose Leclerc, the right-hander coming out of the Rangers bullpen. And that'll bring us to our Kubota power stats. And this Rangers bullpen has been very good. Check this out versus the Tigers this season. 2-0 with a 1.27 ERA, nearly 13 strikeouts per 9, and they have not allowed an inherited runner to score. And so Jose Leclerc will be given that task once again here. He's got a couple of runners on, and this is what he's done so far this season.
Yeah, he's held opposing hitters to a 139 average, 14 hits in 30 innings. Probably a few too many walks, but 41 strikeouts in 30 innings. Pretty impressive numbers.
And there's a pitch and swung on and missed from Jones, and so the count 1-2. Jose Leclerc has been tremendous in these situations. He has taken on 30 inherited runners this year, far and away the most of any Ranger reliever, and he's only allowed 4 of those to score. And so that 13% inherited runner score rate is the 4th best in all of Major League Baseball. And you wonder about that sometimes. There are certain guys. It's interesting as you put your bullpen together, and as a manager you look at your staff, you try to read your guys and get an idea who's best in what situations. You talk about closers like Kella's killing it this year, right? But outside of those safe situations, he's had some struggles, and it seems like for him, the bigger the moment, the better he is. Jose Leclerc, for whatever the reason this year, has been really good coming in and taking on other pitchers' runners, and maybe just a little bit more locked in when you throw him right into the fire as he registers a strikeout here against Jacoby Jones. And so a quick 5-pitch strikeout to Jones by Jose Leclerc.
Yeah, and I guess, CJ, you could also make the statement that when you're looking at value to the team, someone like Leclerc who can come in, and he generally comes in with a lead late in a ball game and not necessarily a big lead. But that guy coming in the 7th or 8th inning with a couple of men on base and pitching out of that jam, in many cases has performed a more important role than the closer who may come in with a 2-run lead, nobody on. Without that kind of a guy, maybe the closer doesn't get a chance to close the game out.
If you want me to pile on, because relievers, we usually would do this in that spot. You look at Jose Leclerc coming in this situation, could be the most important part of the game. He's got to face the tying run twice. He may have a harder job than the closer potentially has. And we used to sit there and say, yeah, but how come the closer gets paid so much more than us middle relievers? Because it seems like we do take on maybe sometimes the tighter situations when you're that setup guy or middle inning guy, the way Jose Leclerc has been. Good job by Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. But you are seeing that change a little bit. We are seeing some middle relievers, certainly from a financial standpoint, be a little bit more appreciated now by the game.
Yeah, when you watch good teams put together their bullpen, in many cases it's not just the closer that's making a lot of money.
Jose Leclerc got a 1-1 count here to Jeimer Candelario. Candelario so far 0 for 2 with a strikeout in this one. And there is a changeup up in the zone at 82 miles an hour, called strike. And the Jose Leclerc changeup has been a mystery. If you look at different websites that categorize pitches, you're going to see different numbers all over the place. And what Jose does is he cuts that changeup. But I was asking Dan Worthen about that, the assistant pitching coach here the other day, and I said, is it that he's cutting that changeup, or is he turning his wrist a little bit more? And he said he almost basically throws it like a football, which is very interesting. Now, that's something little kids will do sometimes when they're trying to learn a changeup, but when you see that changeup slash slider, which is something you don't say very often, changeup slash slider from Jose Leclerc, it's when he actually will turn that wrist in a little bit and throw that baseball as if it were a football. And that's how he gets some of that cut, which has been devastating to right-handed hitters and even to lefties. Now, they also like to see him keep that changeup on the arm side and let it run away from lefties, but more often than not, he ends up cutting it in.
That last pitch he threw was one of those.
There's a ground ball to the right side, foul. So you could say he's like the Tom Brady of relief pitchers, or
well,
whoever your favorite passing quarterback.
Yeah, whatever you call that pitch, to make it break the way it does, however you hold it and however you throw it, it has to spin like a slider. Maybe not as tight as a slider, but it has to have some spin to break that much and imitate a slider.
Well, here's the 2-2 from Leclerc. It swung on and missed, and Jose Leclerc does it again. 96 miles an hour on the fastball. He inherits a couple of runners, and he strands them once again.
Well, it's a changeup that gets a lot of the talk, but it's that 95-mile-an-hour fastball that ends the 6th inning for the Tigers.
Good action in the bottom of the 6th. Jose Leclerc came out of the bullpen, Tom, and he was fantastic with a couple of runners on.
Yeah, a lot of times a pitcher will use his fastball to set up his breaking pitches. In this particular case, it looked like Jose Leclerc came in throwing his changeup, and it set up his fastball. The last pitch to get Candelaria was a high 95-mile-an-hour fastball. But very nice combination. Came in with a couple of men on, got a couple of strikeouts, and pitched out of a jam and preserved a nice start for Austin Bibbins-Dirks, who ends up 5 1/3 with no runs.
And we'll see how this thing plays out. But ultimately, right there for Jose Leclerc, facing the potential tying run in 2 at-bats. We'll see if the tying run comes to the plate again. If not, that will without a doubt be the biggest moment in the game for any Rangers pitchers. We will see. So Ronald Guzman in there now to lead things off here for the Rangers in the 7th inning. Guzman is 1 for 2 in a base hit with an RBI to left field against Michael Fulmer, and he struck out in the 4th. Here's the 0-2 to Guzman, and he takes it downstairs, count 1-2. Michael Fulmer, pitch number 92 on the way, and it is hit to the left side and right through the hole, and another base hit for Ronald Guzman, and another opposite field base hit for Ronald Guzman. So a nice job by the young lefty. Tom, I wanted to make sure we brought this up before we left. There's a big summer for the Detroit Tigers. They will add a couple of more Hall of Famers. Everybody that you see on the wall outside of Willie Horton right there, or our Tiger Hall of Famers, Alan Trammell and Jack Morris, will go in this summer, and deservedly so. But also something really cool story that I learned playing here over the years. Hal Newhouser, you see him there, number 16, great left-handed pitcher. Prince Hal was the nickname. Hal Newhouser was a scout for the Houston Astros near the end of his baseball career. You see a bunt attempt there by Carlos Tocci. There's a great statue of Hal Newhouser. 1992, leading up to the draft, he highly recommended that the Houston Astros take Derek Jeter with the #1 overall pick.
Really?
They did not. Jeter actually went 6th in that draft. They took Phil Nevin instead, who had a pretty good career for himself, but obviously not a couple home runs, or a couple hundred home runs that he hit. But Hal Newhouser was so upset that they did not take Derek Jeter that he quit. The day after the draft, he quit, and he was done in baseball. He was so confident that this was the guy that you needed to take, and they were like, nah. And and there were 4 other teams that passed on Derek Jeter as well in that draft.
Yeah, if I remember back to that draft, I think signability had something to do with that too. I think they felt, I might be wrong on that, but I think they felt that Phil Nevin was an easier sign, was going to be cheaper than Derek Jeter. I think that might have factored into it, maybe not. But regardless, if you're the scout, you don't care how much it costs to sign him. You want your guy, and his stance on that looks like it was pretty well founded based on the results.
And there's a bunt attempt, and this one is fouled, and so the count now goes 1-2 for Carlos Tocci. So to get an idea of that draft, Phil Nevin was 1st, Paul Shuey was 2nd, so the Indians also passed on Derek Jeter. B.J. Wallace was the 3rd pick overall for the Montreal Expos. He didn't ever make it to the big leagues. Jeffrey Hammonds went 4th to the Orioles. Chad Mottola, former teammate of mine and now hitting coach with the Tampa Bay Rays, went 5th, and then it was Derek Jeter 6th. So
yeah, all college players.
Well, Newhouser certainly knew what he wanted. Derek Jeter, the first high school player taken in that draft, and he said, you know what, if you're not going to listen to me, I really know what I'm talking about. Left-handed pitchers, they always know what they're talking about.
Yeah,
I'm out of here.
They definitely have a reputation for that.
Well, Tocci swings and hits one down the right field line, but this ball is going to reach the stands and go foul.
I'm trying to remember, was Hal Newhouser the one that struck out all the guys in the All-Star game? He had like 5 or 6 in a row.
I know you're talking
There's
about.
someone that did that.
I don't think that was him, and I can't remember who it was.
Okay. The guy that did it, I wish I shouldn't even have brought it up without knowing for sure. It seemed like it was a left-hand pitcher.
Was that earlier when it was like all of the, it was a bunch of Hall of Famers?
Eric Joseph
right?
just gave me the name. It was Carl Hubble.
Oh, and he struck out, was it 5 Hall of Famers in a row?
Yeah.
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 That's pretty amazing.
I always hate to bring up something like that and not know the answer, but the other side of it is, if you do, sooner or later, within a few minutes, someone's going to give you the answer.
Yeah, it's kind of like human Google. You just throw it out there, and somebody will get you the answer sooner or later. I do that to Dave all the time, just assuming that he knows the answer.
Yeah.
And it's my mistake for giving him way more credit than he deserves.
Yeah. Just for the remaining games we do, don't assume I know anything. So if you're thinking about that, don't waste your time.
Well, we put EJ to work and everybody else. They're not doing anything anyway, right? They're just hanging out in the truck and the air conditioning.
Eric was right on top of that one. I actually have a baseball card autographed by Carl Hubble.
Oh, wow.
All the more reason I should have known that.
Well, Chu steps in, and it's a one-hopper to the second baseman. Goodrum throws to Iglesias at second and over to first for the double play. And the on-base streak will be in jeopardy for Chu as he finishes off the seventh inning with that double play. There'll be an opportunity for us here as we get ready to stretch in the seventh inning to go ahead and throw it over to Comerica Park PA announcer Bob Vergils as we get ready for God Bless America.
Fans, at this time we ask you to all please stand and join us in the singing of God Bless America, performed today by Rachel Miltimore.
Bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam.
To lead the Tigers by a score of 3-0. Well, you can enjoy your next Ranger game in the comfort of a climate-controlled suite. Most suite packages include parking and a food and beverage package. Visit TexasRangers.com/suites. You can experience a game the way they do in our production truck. Comfort, food and drinks, and air conditioning. Bottom of the seventh, Jose Leclerc back out for the Rangers. He did an excellent job finishing things up in the sixth inning. He inherited a couple of runners recorded a couple of strikeouts, and now he'll get a clean inning here in the 7th, and he'll get the middle of the Tiger order. Will be Nico Goodrum, John Hicks, and Jim Adduci. I mentioned it as we went to breaks, and Choo grounded into that double play. If the Rangers don't rally, we may not see him bat again in this game, and that 46-game on-base streak would come to an end.
Good news is we're on the road, so we have to hit in the 9th inning, but several guys are going to have to get on base for Shin-Soo to get another at bat.
Foul ball lifted out of play, and so the count is 1-2 to Goodrum, who we talked about a little bit, has been very impressive. What we have seen so far defensively and offensively. Ron Gardenhire seems very excited about second baseman he was able to bring over from the Minnesota Twins. A little bit of big league time last year, but a minor league free agent, and the Tigers swooped him up, and he's got an opportunity here and certainly has taken advantage of it as of late. There's Ron Gardenhire, longtime manager with the Minnesota Twins. We mentioned he was not on the bench for the first couple of games, dealing with some hydration issues that came up when they were in Wrigley playing the Chicago Cubs. Goodrum goes down on strikes and make it now 3 strikeouts in a row for Jose Leclerc.
CJ, take a look at these 2 pitches and help me out just in case I've got this wrong. This first pitch looks like the changeup that goes the other way.
Yeah.
Which we don't see very often. And then, of course, this is the 95-mile-an-hour fastball. But the changeup he throws most of the time is the one that looks like a slider. That's one of the first ones I've caught that looked like it was going the other way.
Yep, and that's what they want him to do against lefties, is preferably that the changeup stay to the arm side. I mean, you know this as a hitter, thinking about a right-handed pitcher to a left-handed hitter. You generally would not want your changeup to cut back in.
Right.
But there are, without a doubt, more and more pitchers that cut their changeup on purpose. It's just that you would cut it to a same-sided hitter, right? Righties to righties, lefties to lefties, which it used to be. The idea of cutting your changeup was just a terrible idea. It was something that happened by mistake, and you would never do it on purpose. And you know, there's been more than a handful of guys now. Jose Leclerc has maybe been the best at it. Wade Davis is one. The guys that will cut their changeup intentionally, and it makes sense. I mean, right on right, left on left, it makes total sense to cut your changeup away.
Well, the Rangers had a Jose back in the 1980s who cut his changeup, and that was Jose Guzman. Of course, Jose was a starting pitcher, but he could throw a changeup that had action in both directions.
Fastball at 96 miles an hour is fouled back, and it is so interesting to me to watch just the evolution of pitching. You sent us that really cool video. What was it, 1931, some opening day highlights?
Yeah, Eric Nadel.
Oh, Eric Nadel sent it to us. I'm sorry, that sent it to all of us, that had the some highlights from 1931 that he ran across. As we see another strikeout now for Jose Leclerc, and it's just really incredible to watch pitchers then. You know, to watch that old a video, to be able to see that.
The hitter swings.
And then just, you know, and where we are now with the high velocities and how you get from that point to this point, and obviously everything else that has happened in between has just been really,
you know, it's
really
probably, and it is very similar to what's happened in every sport. If you go back, you know, 80 years, all sports look a lot different then than they are now. And it doesn't mean by any means it's better now than it was then. It just means that's the evolution of the human race. And if those same guys in any sport were born today, they'd be great athletes today. If our guys that are great athletes today happen to be back in the born in the 1920s, they would have looked just like the guys in that video. But I might mention, since you brought that up, CJ, for anybody that loves baseball and the history of baseball, Google opening day, Yankee Stadium, 1931, and you will find a 15-minute video on YouTube of what it looked like on opening day, with audio from Babe Ruth and his wife, batting practice shots of Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth, video from the game, the difference in the pomp and circumstance of the on-field activities before the game. It was just unbelievable. It was so much fun to look at that. And again, if I described you by saying you love baseball and you love the history of baseball, I will be completely shocked if you don't watch that and feel the same way. 1931 opening day at Yankee Stadium. Red Sox and the Yankees. They had one great exchange there. Babe Ruth and his wife were on camera. Both of them extremely uncomfortable. His wife very shy. The Babe didn't want any part of it. And the guy taking the video said to his wife, would you like to say something to Babe? And she goes, well, what do I say? And Babe kind of looked annoyed, and she ended up saying, well, Babe, I hope you break the record this year. He looked at her and went, good. And that was the exchange.
Yeah, as much as the evolution of the game is interesting, the evolution of people in general certainly pretty fascinating. And I'll make sure we tweet that out maybe during a commercial break. But it was really a cool video to check out without a doubt. Well, Jose Leclerc's got a full count now here to Jim Ducey, who ends up getting the start. Originally was not in the lineup, but an injury to Castellanos, and he's able to draw a walk on a 3-2 fastball that just misses from Leclerc. Time now for a word from our friends at Kia.
At Kia, get America's best value backed by a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty.
So with 2 outs now, Jose Leclerc, first base runner he has had to face after coming in the game and striking out 4 straight Tigers. He'll face Mikey Matuk, the left fielder for Tigers this afternoon. He takes a first pitch strike on the corner.
And you talk about the evolution of things. How about the evolution of Jose Leclerc from the time he first got to the big leagues to now? You had a kid back then when he first got here with great stuff. Maybe a little bit intimidated his first time up in the big leagues. Things are moving fast. Had the great stuff, didn't have the command, and now you're looking at a poised pitcher pitching like a veteran with the same great stuff, but now with the confidence and the ability to throw it for strikes.
And that's the big thing, right? Is throwing it for strikes. That is the one thing with Jose Leclerc that is so important for him and really gives him the opportunity to start to get into that upper echelon of elite relievers. And lefty righty doesn't seem to make a difference. Lefties this year hitting 161, righties hitting I lost it. Where's my place? There it is, 129, which has been pretty incredible. The 12 strikeouts per 9, that'll put him among some of the best in the game. It's just those walks at 5 per 9 that have been up there a little bit. Every once in a while they'll rear their head for Jose Leclerc, but instead he just comes right back with a strikeout and pretty much just kind of playing catch with Isaiah Kiner-Falefa over the 6 batters that he faced. Well, we are through 7 now here at Comerica Park with the Rangers still leading 3-0. This afternoon. We see Buck Farmer coming in now out of the Detroit Tigers bullpen. So Michael Fulmer's day is done, and here are the numbers for Farmer.
Yeah, for Buck Farmer, This will be his 42nd game, so he's pitched frequently. Fairly solid numbers. He'll throw a fastball, a changeup, and a slider. Starter Michael Fulmer today struggled early in the game. There was a point in time where he was having a hard time throwing strikes. He had 30 pitches with nobody out in the second inning. Well, he made a great comeback. He ended up with a probably pretty good mix of strikes and balls. Pitch count that's relatively safe for 7 innings. Ended up pitching a nice ball game.
We saw Buck Farmer in the opener of this game back on Thursday threw 11 pitches against the Rangers, and a guy that has been dealing with backwards splits this year. 177 against lefties, 348 against righties. Those are the batting averages against Buck Farmer. Jurickson Profar 1 for 3 this afternoon. He had that home run in the first inning. He mentioned some of those struggles for Michael Fulmer early, and he takes a big swing and pops one back out of play. Count 2-1. Well, as I mentioned, some interesting things happening around baseball. Nate Eovaldi has been a pretty good story. Of course, you missed all of last year. Tommy John surgery. Weren't sure what his future was going to be all about. Well, he's bounced back very nicely with the Tampa Bay Rays. He has become the center of some trade rumors. He was working on a perfect game into the 7th. He eventually gave up a base hit in the 7th inning against the New York Mets. 7 innings, 1 hit, no walks, and 9 strikeouts. So his trade value is skyrocketing right now, and certainly the Tampa Bay Rays are thrilled that he pitched the way that he did today, or is pitching. He's still in that game.
Yeah, Tampa Bay is a team that's not that much fun to play right now. If they win today, there'll be a game over 500.
This one lifted down the left field line. Mikey Machtuk is chasing. He's on the track, and he makes the catch right in front of the fans there. That short wall that they have, and so Jurickson Profar is retired to lead off the 8th.
Yeah, it looks like Machtuk had to go a little bit farther for this one than he thought he was going to have to go. He's kind of cruising when he starts out and puts on a little bit extra speed right toward the end and has to contend with the fence right there.
So as much as those low fences, I'm never a fan of those for outfielders and infielders having to chase balls, because they'll catch you right basically mid-thigh and take you right over the wall.
They will.
Well, now you got a net to catch you there, so maybe
you
it's
could dive right into the net,
not
I
nearly
guess, if
as
you want
bad.
to.
Yeah, it's kind of fun actually.
Again, back to Tampa Bay, boy, they've got some pretty good pitching going on right now. You look at Blake Snell, had another 7 1/3 of shutout ball yesterday. He's 12-4 with a 2.09 ERA.
Yeah, they have some decisions to make, because they have some pieces that other teams certainly would be interested in, and the idea of trading for pitching these days and the returns that we have seen in some of the past trades, there's an opportunity for the Rays to really cash in. Now, Blake Snell, I doubt, would be one of those guys.
Yeah,
he's only a 1+ player.
Yeah, they can't trade him.
2 years of service and 4 more years of control after this year, so trying to match up with him would be pretty difficult to do, and I don't see why they would do that. And guys like Chris Archer, his name comes up all the time, that team-friendly contract, but Nate Eovaldi certainly has become an attractive name.
Chris Archer would have been one of those guys. He's been hurt, though, which has kind of hurt their maneuverability there. But tonight the All-Star team, I guess, is going to be announced, right? Blake Snell will definitely be on the All-Star team. He has to be a candidate to not only pitch in that game, but be one of the guys that gets considered to start that game.
I think that is fair. That'll be certainly interesting. That'll happen tonight, and those rosters will start to get set. And then, of course, you have that final fan vote as well. It's always a fun thing that Major League Baseball does. Well, 2-2 now to Nomar Mazara, who is 0 for 1 with a couple of walks today. And that's certainly good to see. We mentioned Nomar, some struggles there for him lately as far as the base hits, but the fact that he's had a couple of good plate appearances today, was able to draw some walks, and got his 4th plate appearance here right now. He is 2 for his last 22. That spans over his previous 5 games. That one misses up and away, and so Nomar Mazara will draw his 3rd walk of the afternoon. Well, MLB.TV is now available at a lower price. Watch every out-of-market regular season game. Do that live with MLB.TV. Your subscription Includes MLB At-Bat Premium, allowing you to watch on your favorite supported devices. Visit MLB.tv for details. Well, Nomar Mazar doing his part to try to get Shin-Soo Choo up to the plate. We're here in the 8th inning, and Choo is still 7 batters away as Adrian Beltre ducks out of the way. A pitch from Buck Farmer. Do you think Choo is he thinking about it right now?
Yes, yes.
Like, you know, it's going to come
has to be.
right?
It's not something that you can ignore. It's, you know, kind of like a pitcher throwing a no-hitter. You might not notice in the 5th inning, but in Choo's streak right now, we're way beyond the 5th inning. You know, we're heading to the 8th and 9th inning of a no-hitter, so to speak. So yeah, he has to know it. And he's looking for base runners, sure. He's human. I think he'll downplay the importance of it because he's such a team player, but I don't know how he could help but not know the circumstances.
So the 46 games, the consecutive streak reaching on base for Choo. That ties Julio Franco for the longest on base streak in club history. So by the end of today, he will either be standing alone at the top if he gets another plate appearance, or he will be tied. And listen, Julio Franco's a pretty good guy to be tied with.
Absolutely.
There's a base hit up the middle, and so Adrian Beltre reaches his first base hit. He's now 1 for 4.
Well, the game in Texas a while back when Shin-Soo extended the streak, it looked like the Rangers wouldn't hit in the bottom of the 9th, if I remember right. They had a lead. Then they lost the lead, and he had to hit in the 9th inning, and that was when he looped a single over shortstop to end up 1 for 5. Not quite the same because he's guaranteed to hit in the 9th inning. Just has to have a little help with some base runners today.
Well, that's going to be it for Buck Farmer. When we get back, we'll tell you all about which Hall of Famer Adrian Beltre just tied. Base hit, and that's going to bring him into some pretty exclusive company as he ties Dave Winfield, 3,110 hits, Tom, and here it is.
Well, he had a pretty good pitch. Probably not a strike, but he stroked it into center field to tie Dave Winfield. We were talking about that yesterday. He was 1 away from him. Today he tied him. Tomorrow in Boston, he'll probably go ahead of him.
We've watched Adrian do this, right? We watched him move up the list, but you start to get to certain numbers and you're like, you know, we've been in awe of what he has done. But when you start talking about now top 20,
everybody's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, start working to top 15. I mean, this is really incredible. It's been a lot of fun to watch, and really, I stand here in awe when I start looking at the list. But when you start thinking about the fact that there have been over 19,000 men who have played this game, and Adrian Beltre is in the top 20 of the most hits ever recorded, that is absurd.
Yep, you combine the offense and then look at his defense, having been so many times a Gold Glove third baseman. There's a lot of Hall of Famers on that list, but not all of them were Gold Glovers either. So as far as an all-around player goes, he's earned the right to be on any list you want to talk about.
Daniel Stumpf has come into this game, the left-hander for the Detroit Tigers, on to face Rougned Odor, who takes that fastball upstairs. And so the count now 2-1 to Odor. He's 1 for 3 today. Got a base hit back in the 3rd inning. There are the numbers for Stumpf.
Yeah, Stumpf struggling a little bit as far as his ERA goes. Slider, fastball, and a changeup. There's the slider. Missed with it, though.
Good take by Rugi, and we've seen that pitch get called against lefties quite a bit. And a little bit of a stare there from him, kind of waiting and hoping and making sure this call didn't go against him.
Probably seen Rugi swing at that pitch in the past a little bit too, so you're right.
He's shaking his head no too, right? You see guys do that because they know that call will sometimes get made. It is a ball.
Yeah.
But he knew there was a chance that could have got called a strike. Well, the 3-1 is up and in, and so ball 4 to Rougned Odor. Nice at bat against the lefty Stumpf, and now the bases are loaded for the Rangers. Well, we mentioned that Adrian Beltre just tied Dave Winfield. Pretty impressive company when you think about Dave Winfield, of course, 20th on that list. We just showed you that. Went into the Hall of Fame in 2001. Did great right-handed hitter. This is what really always gets me with Dave Winfield, though. He was drafted in all 4, I say all 4 professional sports leagues. Football, a couple of basketball in there, and then, of course, baseball, which, you know, begs the question. We talk about greatest athletes in our sport, ones that made their mark in baseball. Dave Winfield has to be up there. I know we talk about Bo Jackson, Deion Sanders, some pretty great athletes that we have seen.
Yeah, the only way I would differentiate Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders is not only were they drafted, but they played 2 sports. Not to say Dave Winfield couldn't play the sports.
Ground ball off the bat of Joey Gallo. Goodrum flips to Iglesias over to first, and it'll be a 4-6-3 double play. And so the inning is over. We will see if the Rangers can find a way to get Choo to bat in the 9th. But in the meantime, we'll go to the bottom of the 8th with the Rangers still leading. Nothing. Let's get to our 4 matchup for tomorrow. The Rangers and the Red Sox. Rougned Odor has been great as of late. He has been great in his career at Fenway Park. And JD Martinez, his first year with the Boston Red Sox, has been making his mark. 27 home runs. That leads all of Major League Baseball. But interesting note on JD Martinez, they gave him an off day today, or trying to give him an off day today in Kansas City. Manager Alex Cora said he's a little bit banged up, was the phrase that he used. Well, maybe a day off today, and quite possibly we'll see him back in the lineup on Monday against the Rangers. Well, Jake Diekman now is on for Don Wakamatsu's Ranger Club for the day.
Yeah, numbers for Jake Diekman have been solid. coming in, try to protect a 3-run ball game, 3-0 Rangers. Rangers don't score. It'll be a save opportunity in the 9th inning for Keone.
And I say Don Wakamatsu is just a reminder for those who did not know. Jeff Bannister was ejected in the 2nd inning of this game after arguing a call that was made on Carlos Tocci after a bunt. He was ruled out of the 45-foot line, that lane, that 45-foot running lane violation. Ball hit him. Anytime it hits you and they think you're out. Now we saw him actually get back into the lane. That's what Jeff Bannister was arguing, but not reviewable and to no avail. So Banny's had the rest of the afternoon off. Tom, I don't believe in the phrase necessarily baseball gods, but based on what happened in that last inning, I'm starting to wonder if there's a conspiracy against getting Chu that last plate appearance.
Yeah.
Joey Gallo, we know that he strikes out a lot, but he also doesn't hit ground balls. He's a fly ball, swing and miss kind of power hitter. That is Joey's strength. And he has not hit into a double play, as you mentioned. You noted this during the break, all year.
No.
So if he just struck out there or flew out, which is usually, or hit a home run like we usually see him do, that would have guaranteed that Chu would have hit in the 9th inning. But instead, he did something he hasn't done the entire season, which was hit into a double play. We're just having some fun. We're certainly not blaming Joey by any means, but I don't know. I'm feeling a little Twilight Zone music might be appropriate for what just happened.
Yeah, let's hold off because we've got Falefa, Guzman, and Tocci hitting in the 9th inning. One of those guys could still get on base. But yeah, I'm kind of there with you on that. If it turns out a 1-2-3 ninth for the Rangers, then I guess all you can say, it just wasn't meant to be for that 5th at bat. Fate, coincidence, baseball gods. I guess you can choose to look at it whichever way you want. Yeah, I've invoked the term baseball gods before, so I guess that means I believe in it.
There's a fly ball hit to shallow right center field. Carlos Tocci comes over and makes the play, and so Jose Iglesias is retired. All right, so put me in one of those players' shoes, whether you're Isaiah, Guzman, Tocci. Especially, let's just say Tocci gets up and there's 2 outs and nobody on him. I mean, you're leaning limbs out over the plate. Like, you can't turn away from any pitch that's close, right? You got to let it hit you. Maybe even take until you get the 2 strikes.
First thing I'm doing is I'm looking at the 3rd baseman and hoping he's playing back so I can drop a bunt down, knowing that the next time we play the Tigers, I might not be playing anyway if they take exception to that. But if they do, it's a 3-run game. The heck with them.
I mean, the idea of going Little League style, maybe get all the way on the plate. Don't swing till you get to 2
There
strikes.
are guys that have been known to do that. Cesar Tovar was a great player for the Minnesota Twins, teammate of mine in Caracas, and also a Ranger. He would do it. He'd lean out over the plate with no padding on and take one in the arm. Don Baylor.
Biggio, he'd be out there kind of sticking that elbow out there once in a while, not afraid.
The all-timers, Ron Hunt, he used to get hit. I don't know how many times it was, 30 times a year. But he was wearing stuff on his uniform. He had to. As many times as he got hit, he'd be on the disabled list in April of every season he ever played. There's probably pitchers back then that said, you know what, he's so close to the plate, I'm probably going to hit him by mistake. I might as well just drill him really good and just let him go to first base.
Here's a ground ball hit to Jurickson Profar. Flips it to Rougned Odor over to first, and it is another double play for the Rangers. So a nice job by Jake Diekman to pitch around the leadoff walk. And we will indeed go to that top of the 9th. Who will it be? Which Ranger will help get Chu to the plate? The Rangers continue to lead 3-0. Let's take a look ahead, or Wells Fargo look ahead, and there is Jurickson Profar. What's going on here? We're going to look at what's happening with the Rangers and the Red Sox. Mike Minor, Yvonne Gallardo, Bartolo Colon, all scheduled to pitch. We'll see Johnson in the opener and then Chris Sale, but that second game right now is TBA. All those games will be on Fox Sports Southwest. It'll be fun to go to Boston. Always a great trip. Good ballpark, good atmosphere. Now, unfortunately, also a really good baseball team in the Boston Red Sox. There'll be a challenge there for the Rangers as they get there. There is Chu. There is Cole Hamels. No mustache. Gone with that pretty quickly. We saw it yesterday and it was gone. Just like that. So we will see. Who will it be here? Somebody needs to get on base to try to get Chu to the plate. Give him an opportunity to extend that on-base streak. It is currently at 46 games, tied with Julio Franco for the longest in franchise history. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is leading things off here against Alcantara. So Alcantara on Thursday. We talked about him a lot. Very good arm, interesting kind of arm path in the way that he delivers the ball and the way it comes out of his glove, the way the hand stays close. Very unusual, that little pause in there. Although I say that, and as I watch him there, a little bit reminiscent, not nearly the same arm, but Jose Lima had that little pause in there. For those that remember, the former Tiger right-hander, also pitched for the Astros, Dodgers, and some other clubs. He had a little pause, but didn't have this two-seamer that Alcantara has at 94 with pretty tremendous movement.
Yeah, he's got a good combination of a mid-90s fastball and a changeup. There's the pause, separates his hands a little early, gets the ball to the plate effectively.
Sure does. That is some good life on 94 miles an hour from the right-hander. There's the 1-2 to Kiner-Falefa, and he takes off the plate. Count even 2-2. Well, it's been another day in which we have watched Isaiah Kiner-Falefa catch behind the plate. Sixth start of the season for him, and another day, I think, in which we say barely noticed him, and in a good way.
Job well
nice
done.
Job behind the plate. We didn't see any pitches that we thought were strikes that he didn't handle or keep in the strike zone. Did a nice job blocking, threw out another runner, so that is now 3 out of 4 for him in his brief career as the backup catcher here with the Rangers. He's done a very, very nice job. Now, he has also broken a couple of bats today. He's had some bad luck. Hit a pretty hard line drive, broke his bat, and then that was to third. Then he broke his bat on a ground ball to short in his last at bat. And now he's got a guy with pretty nasty stuff that probably is capable of breaking some bats. And we still got a lot of games left on this road trip, so Isaiah needs to be careful.
That's one thing. Another thing that's changed in baseball over the years. Players bring a lot more bats on the road than we used to way back when.
You could say it. They're high maintenance.
They all have their own bat bag now.
There's a ground ball. Iglesias across the infield. Fields it cleanly. Easy play for him. He's made a couple of nice plays here this afternoon. And you mentioned the bats and the bat bags. You're right. It's pretty good. I mean, it's cool to see. Brandon Boyd's got to work his tail off, and his crew as they're carrying all of that stuff and packing up all that stuff for the players. But
they pack their work. Yeah, it's a lot of work. They pack their own bat bag. I'm not sure how many fit in a bag. A dozen maybe. In the old days, there was probably 2 bat bags. If you go back far enough, there was probably only 1. And in those 2 bags, it was up to the player to grab the bats that you wanted to bring on a road trip. And you might bring 4 or 6 bats. But the bats break much more frequently today than they ever did before.
Have you ever run out of bats on a trip?
I don't remember that ever happening. It probably did, but there are probably plenty of guys that would be willing to share.
Now, was that?
I don't remember that.
Because they're pretty significant. The differences of the bat. That was one of the cool things for me. Just when I even started playing professionally, to be around all of the different bats, and you get to pretend that you're a big leaguer. Because nobody ever pretends they're a pitcher as a kid, right? Everyone pretends they're a hitter. You get to the big leagues and see you go from a C243 that had the big barrel and the skinny handle to the P72, which is a lot smaller. I mean, just so many different models and so many different variations of a bat. And so if you were to run out, you had to find a guy that had something similar to you, right?
Yeah.
There were so many different ones.
Yep. I would say if you wanted to make a generalization, the bats today have much thinner handles than they did 30 or 40 years ago. Handles were thicker. Players used probably bigger bats too.
Well, here is a ball hit to center field, and it is going to get down for a base hit for Ronald Guzman. So that certainly helps the cause of getting Chu to the plate. Now, under no circumstances can Carlos Tocci hit into a double play.
Well, at least we've got a guy up there who's a fast runner. That's the third ball that Ronald has served into the outfield softly for a hit, so he's 3 for 4. He's seen his average go in the last 2 weeks from 218 to 245 before the game, and now a lot higher than that. Got his average up to 255 now over the last couple of weeks.
Tocci takes a first pitch strike, 93 miles an hour. He is 0 for 3 today. Struck out in the 7th, also struck out in the 4th, and then he was called out on that interference, the play that ultimately got Jeff Bannister ejected from this ball game. The 0-1 is a 95-mile-an-hour fastball called strike 2, and so the anticipation builds here for Chu, who is on deck. 46 game streak of getting on base that has tied a Rangers franchise record, but he's not gotten on base yet today. And there's a called strike 3 on the corner, and so Carlos Tocci is down. 3rd strikeout of the game for him. But let's go ahead and get to that on base single season streak, consecutive streak, and there is Chu, tied with Julio Franco, 46 games. So this is it. We have no plans to play extra innings today with the Rangers leading 3-0, and so last opportunity for Chu to continue the great streak that he has been on.
Yeah, it's at least, I know it's at least the 2nd time and maybe more where he's come into his 5th at bat needing a base hit. So he's in a perfect spot as far as being the leadoff hitter.
We did reach on an error, but does not count.
Nope,
towards
does not count.
You're on base. And he takes a first pitch strike on the corner. Hit by pitch will get it done. A walk will get it done, and of course any base hit would get it done. I think that's it, right? Is there any other way?
Nope.
Intentional walk, I guess. They really, well, would that be a generous thing to do? Would be a pretty stupid move.
Be very generous. Might get booed by the home fans if he tries that.
Well, here's a little dribble hit to the left side. This is going to be a tough play, and the third baseman is going to hold on to the baseball, and absolutely no chance to get Chu. And so it will indeed be an infield single, and call it 47 games for Shin-Soo Choo as he smiles and claps. And he didn't hit it very hard, but he did exactly what he had to do, and he is now your single season leader.
That's great. Pretty good pitch, tailing away, and to Chu's benefit, he just cued it off the end of the bat softly enough to where there wasn't a play. So in the at bat that I talked about in Texas, where he needed a hit in his 5th at bat, it was a little blooper over shortstop. This one a little grounder to 3rd. But if you look at the last couple of days, how he extended his streak with a 430-foot home run and a 405-foot double, this is just a contrast to that. But as they say, they all count.
Congratulations to Chu. It's been a pretty incredible run. A lot of fun to watch him, and a good job by the Rangers to get him that additional at bat. So go ahead and credit Ronald Guzman with an assist, as now Jurickson Profar drills one out to deep center field. But Jacoby Jones is there, and he makes the catch. So the inning is over. No runs across the board for the Rangers, but some history for that man right there, Shin-Soo Choo. 47 straight games getting on base. That's a franchise record. Oh, sure. Go ahead and get an expert that's going to argue against me. Of course, make me look foolish on the postgame show. That's fine. Rich is really good at what he does, and I can't wait to hear him tell you guys where I went wrong. Well, Keone Kela now is on for the Rangers, an opportunity to close this one out and pick up a save. And it's been a good game so far for Texas Rangers pitching. And Kela is quickly ahead 0-2. There's a 98-mile-an-hour fastball from the Ranger right-hander.
Yeah, this has so far been a great game for the Rangers. Excellent starting pitching. Tremendous work in the bullpen. Jose Leclerc came in for an inning and 2/3, struck out 5, got out of a 1-out, 2-men-on jam. And Keone's got a chance to get his 22nd save. Chu got that last at bat, extended his streak. Rangers have a chance, if they hold on, to salvage the 4-game series as we head to Boston. So all in all, with Keone on the mound, and that's been automatic so far this year.
Well, really incredible to see those numbers with him in save situations. We mentioned it earlier, that 0.93 ERA, but just the idea that, you know, and the reality is it's what happens with certain guys, and it makes a lot of sense, but to be able to dial it up to that degree when the game matters most is certainly what you want to see out of your closer. I mean, you love guys to be great all the time, but this game's not that easy.
No, it's
not. But as long
not.
as if you're going to pick one or the other, be great when it matters the most, and that's certainly what Kela has done so far this season. Jones is 1 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts. He did single in the first inning, but was eliminated by Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. Now go ahead and call it 3 strikeouts on the afternoon for Jones as Kela comes in and punches out the first hitter he sees.
Let's take a look again. In case you missed it, Shin-Soo Choo 0 for 4, gets that extra at bat, cues a little ground ball down the third baseline, and keeps the streak alive. And I guess he can buy Ronald Guzman a nice seafood dinner in Boston for getting the base hit to extend the inning and allow him to hit. But that was fun.
It's got to be lobster, right? I mean, if you're going to go, not just seafood, but all the way in.
Not a small one either. It's not like a little 1.5 pounds. That's got to be a 3-pounder.
What a great reaction from the guys in the dugout as well. They certainly knew what was at stake. As we get a pop up here to the left side from Candelario. Adrian Beltre is there, and he makes the catch. And 2 quick outs here for Keone Kela. So with 2 out and nobody on, Nico Goodrum will now step in for the Detroit Tigers. Their last hope as they trail this one 3-0. The Rangers scored their 3 runs within the first 2 innings. It was a Jurickson Profar solo home run, second batter of the game, then an RBI single from Ronald Guzman, and then Chu reached on an error, and that's when Isaiah Kiner-Falefa scored. That has been all the offense that we have seen in this game. Another well-pitched game. We've seen a couple of them in this series as Goodrum drills one up the middle. This ball will get down for a base hit. Cut off by Carlos Tocci and throws it into second base.
Well, Nico Goodrum went 4 for 4 with a walk in yesterday's game. He salvages his day with a 1 for 4. Solid line drive against an excellent closer.
So with Hicks coming up now, this is just the 4th batter over the minimum that has come to the plate today for the Detroit Tigers. And we mentioned this earlier. Jose Leclerc comes in and faced a tying run in the 6th inning twice. Struck out both Jones and Candelario. He did an excellent job, but the offense here for the Tigers just has not gotten going at all against this Ranger pitching, which has been fantastic. There have not been very many high leverage situations so far in this game, and with 2 outs in the 9th inning, Kela will try to close this thing out right now to prevent that tying run from coming to the plate. Rangers today 1 for 7 with runners in scoring position. Just 2 opportunities for the Tigers. They are 0 for 2 in those spots, and they are now down to their last strike. And here's the 1-2, and Hicks tries to check his swing, and he does. is ready. 2-2 count to the right-hander. Hicks, and here's the pitch, and swung on and missed, and this one is over. 97 miles an hour for Keone Kela, who remains perfect in save situations. He is now 22 for 22, finishing this out for Austin Bibbins-Dirks, who picks up win number 2 on the season. That man right there, Chu, had a big day as well.
Yeah, great all-around day. Good starting pitching, superb bullpen work. 22nd save for Keone. Enough offense early against Michael Fulmer. Shin-Soo Choo extends his streak. The Rangers salvage the series. Head to Boston in a great frame of mind. Fairly quick ball game on a